Valley, it's 9 o'clock.
Number 1 for local news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Friday, December 17th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in Ottawa, 4 degrees, 5 in Smiths Falls, and here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. As we find out, the province will be announcing over 3,000 new COVID cases today. The top doctor for Ottawa feels more restrictions are necessary to curb the spread of the Omicron variant. Here's City News reporter Alex Gouge.
Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Vera Etches, says she is prepared to write a letter of instruction under the Reopening Ontario Act in a push for reduced capacity limits.
I have seen and taken to heart that the vaccination is not enough to help improve the situation and make it through this surge. I agree. We need to decrease capacity.
On an individual level, she is also urging residents to limit the number of close contacts. Dr. Etches explains hospitals in Ottawa have surge capacity plans to increase space in ICUs, but that can prove challenging since many hospitals are already operating above 100% capacity. The doctor anticipates hospitalizations will begin to rise in the coming weeks. Alex Gouge, City News.
Now more with Dr. Etches coming up on the Rob Snow Show this morning at 9:45. City News time 9:01. And it looks like the temperatures are going to remain fairly steady through the day today, around 4 degrees. It will drop to -9 tonight. Tomorrow, the high of -5, and we are expecting a little bit of snow. Right now, it's 4 degrees in Ottawa, 5 degrees in Smiths Falls. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says the choice we make over the next week or two is going to determine just how bad the rest of the winter is and how many people we will lose to COVID-19. Soaring cases of the Omicron variant have provinces rushing to get booster shots into arms. Quebec imposing new restrictions. That included the Montreal Canadiens playing to an empty arena last night. There are restrictions coming into place in Ontario that start on Saturday, and that affects the next Senators game, which is 5 o'clock on Sunday afternoon against the Bruins. With only 50% capacity, all season ticket holder seats are guaranteed. But if you bought a ticket in advance, the team will be contacting you if they're over that 50% limit. City News time, 9:02. Final committee meeting of the year at Ottawa City Hall. It's FEDCO, and it's behind closed doors. Finance and Economic Development Committee will discuss LRT from lawsuits to whether Phase 2 opening is going to be delayed. That meeting gets underway at 11 o'clock. Here's City News reporter Deborah Ryder.
Executives from Rideau Transit Group will have to confront their contractual obligations in a closed-door session with its FEDCO members, especially legal issues that haven't met up to the City of Ottawa's expectation on the Confederation line. This closed-door approach has frustrated other Ottawa City councillors, yet Mayor Jim Watson has defended the process, pointing to the Trillium Line's construction delays and contractual obligations for the Confederation line are considered under FEDCO's jurisdiction.
So while the service is improving, we're hoping that this will act as a catalyst to ensure that our partners understand we're very serious about seeing quality, reliability of the system.
The closed-door FEDCO meeting faced more criticism from Citizen Commissioner Sarah Wright-Gilbert. The City of Ottawa's attorney says citizen commissioners aren't permitted to listen in on active LRT legal disputes. Deborah Ryder, City News.
City News time, 9:03. Ottawa Police asking for your help to find a missing 20-year-old man, Luca Matko. Last seen in the Prince of Wales and Third Line Road area yesterday at about 1:30 in the afternoon. He does have a medical condition and requires prescription medication. There is a full description and picture up at ottawa.citynews.ca. And tonight is the midnight deadline to get your CHEO Dream of a Lifetime lottery ticket for the grand prize, including a house in Manotick and $100,000 in cash. I'm Andrew Boyle for News Anytime. Follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
Separating headlines
from hearsay.
It's the Rob Snow Show on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Friday. We made it. There were times this week when I thought it would never get here. But here it is. So let's get on with it. Great show on the way on the Rob Snow Show on City News. Wonderful Friday fare. In a few minutes, it's the legendary Lowell Green, Hall of Fame broadcaster, best-selling author. Give his hot take on the news of the week. And then right after the 9:30 news, Derek Fage, host of Daytime Ottawa, and the now and again host of the Rob Snow Show. Also coming up, Dr. Vera Etches, Ottawa's Chief Medical Officer of Health, with all the latest details on COVID-19, on the Omicron variant. What was announced yesterday by the province's science table. Dr. Steiny Brown calling for a circuit breaker. Don't call it a lockdown. It's a circuit breaker. Don't call it a lockdown. I spoke with Dr. Etches this morning. We'll play it for you around 9:45. One of the things that I pushed her on this morning, and, you know, this has to be part of the messaging now. To me, it's so important that all the public health officials and all the political leaders really start explaining with some clarity what is the severity of the illness and why are we doing this? And, just how concerned should people be about these case counts? It was 2,400 yesterday for Ontario. What was the number, David, for this morning? For Ontario, what was the case count number for, because it's out now, right? It was 3,400, something like that. David's looking at
3,124 new cases today.
3,124. Okay. All right. That's the Ontario-wide number today. And Radio Canada is reporting that in Quebec, they're going to report 4,000 cases today in Quebec. Right? And when you listen, do you have the Steiny Brown clip? When you listen to the health officials, obviously these case counts have them very, very concerned. Do we have the clip here? Oh, David's got the not responding thing on his computer. So perfect timing for that. All right. Case counts are going up here in Ottawa. Case counts are going up in Ontario. Case counts are going up all over the place. Here's Dr. Steiny Brown from yesterday, the head of the science table.
But neither public health measures nor vaccinations will be enough on their own to blunt the Omicron wave. Public health measures will slow the spread of Omicron, but they are not sustainable in the long run. Vaccination provides our exit plan from the pandemic, but it takes a while to take effect. This will likely be the hardest wave of the pandemic.
Hardest wave.
But if we can control it and drive vaccination as hard as we can make it to the exit.
Okay. Steiny Brown yesterday. Okay. But this week, even with these rising case counts, the number of people hospitalized, the number of people in Ottawa area hospitals with COVID-19, that number went down this week. It was 6, it went up to 7, now it's down to 5. That's right from Ottawa Public Health. And not a single person is in ICU. Not one in ICU. Okay? The goal is to keep it that way. But that is the status of COVID-19 right now with Omicron in Ottawa. There are 5 people in the hospital. So why are we talking about restrictions and capacity limits and circuit breakers and all of this? I'm sure it's a question that you have. It's certainly a question that I have. I put it to Dr. Etches this morning. You have to wait and hear her answer in about a half an hour. She's the doctor. I'm just a broadcaster. Listen to me, but don't follow my advice. For crying out loud, don't follow my advice. Listen to her and follow her advice. She's the one with the medical degree. Also on the show this morning, Queen's Park Week in Review. That is a weekly panel that we do with MPPs at 11:30 every Friday morning. What do you think we'll talk about today? I suspect Omicron might come up. All the developments this week on that file. That's going to make for a heck of a panel discussion this morning. I have to keep them on a short leash. Rapid tests. Rapid tests have become a major part of the conversation now as one of the tools to help us navigate through this latest wave. I would be curious to know what's going on this morning with rapid tests and people lining up at the LCBO to get free rapid tests. For some reason, I just have a feeling this is a gong show in the making. I think there are probably going to be more than a few stories over the next few days about people lining up for rapid COVID-19 tests at the liquor store. This, ladies and gentlemen, this is what has become of us. We are forming lines outside the liquor store to get a rapid test for COVID-19. Who had that on the bingo card? I bet you 2 years from now we'll all be lining up at the liquor store to get tested for COVID-19. Kill two birds with one stone. It's nuts, right? It's nuts. It's kind of nuts when you think about it, right? Where do you think we'll be getting tested in the future for COVID-19? Well, at the liquor store. At the liquor store. Talkback Hour Friday free-for-all today. Just about anything goes. Well, look, we've talked about Omicron all week from just about all angles. The phone lines were so jammed yesterday, the day before that, we couldn't even get to everyone. So if you haven't had a chance to call in this week and get on the air, try again this morning. You'll probably have better luck. And because it's the free-for-all, we don't come up with the topics, okay? We've come up with the topics all week. It's been one topic. It's been Omicron. But today we don't have to talk about that. If you don't want to talk about it, we don't have to talk about it. It would be a welcome diversion, distraction, to not have to talk about COVID at all. But I'll leave that up to you. We don't have to talk about the Omicron variant at all. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about. I would love to get a live update from the liquor store. I really would. Okay? That would make my week, actually. Yeah, Rob, I'm at the liquor store right now in the lineup for the rapid test. I got to the front of the line. They told me they were out. So I bought a bottle of Grey Goose and called it a day. It's a busy world out there. Lots of stories to choose from. Light rail is going to be back in the news today. By the end of business today, we're going to learn that Phase 2 of light rail is probably delayed by a year. The inflation report was out this week. Housing prices set a new record for the year. No fans in the stands at the Habs game last night, but you can still put 9,000 people out to watch the Sens at Canadian Tire Center. Does that make any sense? Whatever it is, let's do it. Welcome to my world. The Rob Snow Show on City News.
My name is Pamela Caillou. I'm a local artist. I'm Métis, and the heritage derives from Algonquin and Huron background. That comes from way, way back from the 1600s. I was trained in school classically, like we studied the masters like Picasso, Michelangelo, Van Gogh, and so you'd have to say it's quite different, my style. What I've done is taken the skills that were taught to me by traditional painting and incorporated that with the Indigenous heritage. My art pieces incorporate the energy and spirit of the Mother Earth in pretty much every single one of them, because I want people to realize, even though we might think we are the masters of the domain here on the planet, that is not the case. It's the Mother Earth that's providing a balance and our causes to live and whatnot. And it's just to always see her and remember her and respect her. Well, I try to keep my style different because there are like a handful of Canadian artists that are really well known, like Norval Morrisseau and whatnot, but it's been done. So I kind of want to stay away from the pack, and that's what makes my artwork a little more unique. But at the same time, if you're looking at it, you do know it's Indigenous and you do know it's the woodland style. I usually start by coming up with an idea, which would be, let's say 4 days. Well, it depends what's inspiring me at the time. It could be a lot of trees, it could be water, it could be the medicine wheel. I would choose a subject and try to really incorporate what it is I want people to see from that. So then from there, I would have sketchbooks and I do little sketches of everything because the canvas is expansive. So you don't want to start something and have to throw it away. And then from there, I go on to the bigger piece on the canvas. Once I have on my sketches the direction I want to take my artwork in. I chose a lot of vibrant colors for the pieces because if somebody is willing to make the commitment to have my piece of work in their home, I would actually like them to come home after a long, hard day, and some days aren't so great, to look at something that's very joyful.
Snow Show returns
on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM
and 1310 AM.
Well, he gave us the Centennial Flame, the Santa Claus Parade, and you know what? He's still not worth a damn. The legendary Lowell Green is back. Good morning.
Yeah, you're right about that. You're right. A lot of people would agree with you on that one, Ron.
I know. Well, you used to agree with it. How are you, Lowell? I'm not worth a damn, and I never have.
Not worth a damn. Listen, you hit the nail on the head this morning once again. We're in desperate need of some clarity here.
Yeah.
Now, 1 week ago on your program, I said, listen, the figures that they are giving us about the infection rate are misleading. That's not really what matters here. What matters is how many people are being hospitalized and how many people are being forced into ICUs. That's the serious question. And as you point out, even though the infection rate is way up, it's very obvious that at least so far, hospitalization rates are not up. In fact, in Ottawa, it's almost a non-factor. What do we got? 5 people in hospital right now in the entire city?
The number of people in hospital has gone down, actually.
Yeah, so we desperately need some clarity there. Okay,
yeah.
We know the infection rate. Fine, it's soaring. This thing is very contagious. This we know, this we agree. But the real question here is, how serious is it? Are we dealing with something really not much more serious than just the annual flu here? That's one of the questions I've got. There's another question here that really, really screams for clarity. How effective are the vaccines? We aren't getting any sort of answer on this. We are learning more and more that people, Les Emerson, a good example, had double dosed. He was supposed to be fully protected and yet dies from COVID. Now, he may have had some other health issues, I don't know. But this is not uncommon. We find out that, in fact, these vaccines are not as effective as we have been told, at least so it would appear. So we need
more effective if you get a booster. More effective if you get a booster.
Well, I don't know.
That's the indication.
I really don't know. There's no clarity on this. I need to know. Okay.
All right.
What if I only have 2 shots? What are my chances of getting seriously ill? Are they nil? Are they 1? Whatever it is, we need some clarity here. Okay, how much improvement is there in the infection rate and in the serious hospitalization rate with the booster shot? We don't know that. And then there's another issue as well. We're getting different messages from different provinces. This disease, this virus, is a national, in fact, it's a worldwide problem. Now, very clearly, we can't deal with it on a worldwide issue, but we certainly should be able to deal with it nationally. But we've got one province like Quebec's got different rules and regulations. They're going to have lockdown this, whatever the hell it is. You said, listen, nobody at the Montreal Canadiens game last night. I'm absolutely empty stands,
yeah.
But there'll be about 9,000 at the Senators.
Well, there can be. You're allowed to have about 9,000, right? They have 18,000 capacities for Canadian Tire Center.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that it's confusing.
Yeah, and Jason Kenney out in Alberta is loosening restrictions.
Precisely.
Right?
So we know that, listen, all we are asking for is peace in our time and some bloody clarity on this situation. How serious is it? What are my chances of serious infection if I have 2 shots?
Yeah.
What are my chances of infection if I have 3 shots?
Yeah.
And there's something else that's kicking out there that we don't seem to be getting a definitive answer, and that is, do we need a second version of a vaccine? If these vaccines are not as effective as we have been told and hoped, then do we need a new variation here? And if so, when might they be available? About 3 weeks ago, we were told, well, by probably the 1st of January, there will be a new vaccine that will tackle this new variant. But now, I mean, that whole thing has been dropped. We don't hear anything more about that. Listen, the health experts, we pay them well. Mm-hmm. They have been highly educated. Yep. They're supposed to have their finger on the situation here.
Right.
They know.
Yeah.
I mean, look. They know damned well what's the rate of hospitalization, and from a percentage point of view, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So we need the clarity.
Gosh, I was looking for that number this morning doing my research. It's a hard number to find.
Precisely.
Yeah.
So, stop panicking us with the infection rate, because to a degree, the infection rate really doesn't mean that much, because it's an indicator, no question. But the infection rate, to a degree, depends upon the amount of tests that have been done. So I'm going to tell you right now, the more of these rapid tests that we have out there, in all likelihood, even if there was no change in the viruses, we would have more and more. The more tests, the more positive results you're going to find. That's a mathematical fact, okay? So, look, all we're saying is give us some bloody clarity here. We're paying you all kinds of money.
Yeah.
We expect you to know the answers here.
Here's what they're saying. This is the theme that I will take away from my coverage this week and listening and reading and consuming it all, trying to take it all in. It's so contagious. It's so contagious. You see how it's the case counts are skyrocketing, right?
Yeah.
Like, from 2,400 to 3,100 in a day. Doubling every 2.2 days or whatever it is. So you're into what they call exponential growth. So eventually it's going to be a really, really big number. So it's going to be such a big number that even if it's a tiny percentage of people who end up in the hospital, that's going to be enough people to overwhelm the hospital because the hospitals are so stressed.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is,
it hasn't happened yet.
Even though the infection rates have gone way up,
right?
We all know that.
But they say there's a lag. Like these cases that are being reported today, maybe these are people who were sick, a week ago or whatever, and it just hasn't been reflected.
Let me make my point here.
Okay. All right.
Yes, the infection rates are way up. We agree on that. But despite the projections and the modeling, the computer modeling, the fact of the matter is that hospitalizations are not up. Now, maybe
but they're saying not yet. They're saying not yet.
Well, yeah, I know,
right?
not, but they keep saying not yet.
So should we wait until they do go up, or should we try and prevent them from going up?
Oh, no, absolutely try to prevent. But I'm going to tell you, there's another problem here, and that is that increasingly people are getting their backbone up against this.
Oh, yes.
Okay, there's a backlash. People are saying, you know what? I don't believe it anymore. I think there's a lot of horse poop in what you're telling me. And even if it is true, I have to live my life.
Yeah.
So
I'm done with it. I'm whatever. I hear you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we've got to deal with that. We have to deal with reality. So I'm going to tell you right now, if there is any talk, any suggestion that we're going into another lockdown, you will see a civic rebellion, the like of which we've never seen in this province before. I will tell you right now, and I've talked to some store owners on this, and all of my friends say the same thing. There's no bloody way. If they try another lockdown, forget it. But at the end of it, all I am really, let me back up here.
All right.
Just give us some freaking clarity.
Yeah.
How effective are the vaccines? How effective are 2 shots? How much effectiveness is improved by the 3rd shot? Do we need a new vaccine here?
Yeah.
What is the hospitalization rate? I mean, if in fact this is only a lag, why aren't they telling us that?
Right.
I mean, we all can see. Look, 5 people. Wait a minute. There's 1 million people in this city. We've got the infection rate way up to God knows what it is, and yet there's only 5 people being treated in a hospital for the disease. See,
and nobody in ICU. And nobody in ICU. And nobody is in ICU.
Nobody in ICU.
Yeah.
So, wait a minute. Okay, if this is just a lag, tell us that. Give us the figures. We've got computerization. You've got, the health authorities have got all kinds of people working on this. Give us the facts. I don't know. Like, is the 2 shots is what? Is it 70% effective? 80%? I don't know. How much improvement is there with the booster? 10%? I don't know. But they must know. Tell us. Give us the clarity. You know what? We're adults out here. We've gone through this for more than 2 years now. We can handle the truth. Give us the freaking truth. Do your job. I'm sick and tired. We got actually all these people, great people. Damn, it's all great people, okay? But do your freaking job. Give us the facts. Stop bullshitting. The infection rate is not what we want to know. What we really want to know here, Rob? How bloody serious is this? Is this really something to worry about, or is it just something we're going to have to learn to live with like the flu? That's, in the end, that's all we need. Just tell us, okay? We're adults. We can handle it.
All right. Okay. It's very frustrating for a lot of people is, they keep saying, well, get your booster. Well, yeah, I'm signing up for a booster, but I can't get a booster till January or February or whatever. Go get your rapid test. Well, is this what you have to do now? It's like 8:30, we're getting reports here at City News. 8:30 in the morning, people are already lined up outside the liquor store on a Friday morning. People have jobs. People have lives.
Well,
kids to take care of, whatever. Yeah,
one point they were
now I'm supposed to go and line up at the liquor store to get a test at 8 o'clock in the morning?
Well, let me tell you, it's better than lining up at Costco for toilet paper.
I guess.
This whole exercise started more than 2 years ago with long lineups for toilet paper. Remember that?
I don't know. It's like a bread line. It's like a bread line in the old Soviet Union or something for some of this stuff.
You might as well laugh as cry. Just tell us the facts. We're adults here. Briefly
hold on. Just let me jump in here. My producer David says, I just got a call. Blair and Ogilvie, LCBO, no tests. Listener just turned away after being in the line. They did not have any idea when any tests would arrive. Can you imagine? You're standing out there, you're trying to do the right thing, right?
Yeah.
You're trying to do the right thing, get your hands on a test. It's Friday morning, there you are in the lineup at the liquor store.
Oh, boy.
Nope, sorry, no test for you.
Can I just throw out one other issue here very briefly?
Blair and Ogilvie. Okay.
We in this city, we're very fortunate. We live in a kind of bubble. The major employer is the public service. Not one single public servant has been laid off or lost salary during this pandemic, unlike most people in private, et cetera, et cetera. So we're isolated from the real world in many ways. But let me just give you my wife is involved with the Ottawa Food Bank to a degree.
Okay.
She just got some new figures yesterday, which really disturbed me. Last year, the Ottawa Food Bank gave out 1,282,000 pounds of fresh produce. That includes 560,000 pounds of fresh meat and chicken and 800,000 pounds of dairy and eggs. That is in addition to well over 1 million pounds of canned goods, et cetera, et cetera. Despite the appearance of wealth and
affluence,
high living in this city, there is an underbelly in this city that very clearly. I mean, we're looking at a city of 1 million people.
Yeah.
And probably about 3 million pounds of food given out at the food bank. There are some people out there, folks, that are really struggling. Yeah, and now with inflation increasing, and they tell us that the interest rates will soon be going up. Some of the isolation, some of the bubble may disappear in this city. I was really knocked out. 1,282,000 pounds of fresh produce given out. There is a problem here, folks. That COVID-19 is a problem, but there's another problem here as well.
And I know the food bank prefers cash donations over food donations. Actually, food donations are good. Cash donations are better because they can leverage the cash donations. Just one more thing.
Sure.
Just took a call. LCBO Bank in Walkley. That's the big one with the warehouse and everything on the side there. Long line. Employee came out. Big sign. We have no rapid tests. So there you go. I told you this was going to be a story. There you go.
This is the lack of clarity once again.
Yeah.
And I mean, not only that, when talk about clarity, should we travel or not? Now,
we got to go. We got to go. We got to go. We get into all that next week. We can get into that next week.
But what I'm saying is that there's confusion. Why, if you're going to stop international travel, then say so. But don't
time to get into international travel right now. It's 9:30. I have to play the news.
Goodbye.
All right. Bye. Lowell Green. Gosh almighty, he's hard to follow and shut up sometimes. All right. Frustrating. What a morning. It's anyway, we'll have the latest. We're getting all kinds of calls here at the city newsroom about no rapid tests at the liquor store despite the long lines. A lot of people hoodwinked this morning, and they're not going to be happy about it. We'll be right back on City News.
News in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's 9:33 on Friday, December 17th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in Ottawa and in Smiths Falls, 5 degrees, and here's what's making news this hour. Lineups at 7 LCBOs for rapid COVID tests that are not available, but they're en route. A shipment apparently on the way, but did not arrive at all stores this morning as promised. We have spoken with a few of the stores at City News, and they all suggested we contact head office. We have contacted the LCBO head office. So far, no word back. Callers to our newsroom this morning say they arrived at 7 locations that were supposed to have these COVID rapid tests, only to be told none are available just yet. 3,124. That is the number of new cases expected to be announced by the province of Ontario today of COVID-19. Our Queen's Park reporter Richard Southern had the advance look at this new number this morning. We will have the official number within the next hour. Now, this rising case count has several calls for medical authorities to introduce more restrictions on gatherings that would have to be announced by the province. That would include Dr. Vera Etches, the top doctor in Ottawa. She will be on with Rob Snow shortly within the next half hour. Ottawa police asking for help to find a missing 20-year-old man. Luca Matko was last seen in the Prince of Wales Third Line Road South area yesterday afternoon around 1:30. Full description and picture at ottawa.citynews.ca. Luca does have a medical condition that requires prescription medication. Police are concerned for his health and well-being. City News Time, 9:34. I'm Andrew Boyle for News Anytime. Follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
He's the opinionated Ottawa icon.
The Rob Snow Show returns
on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Okay, so this is what we know. Apparently, there are no tests anywhere at any of the LCBO stores, these rapid tests, anywhere in Ottawa. We've already had many calls in. Bank and Walkley, long lineup, employee came out, big sign, no rapid tests. Blair and Ogilvie, that was the first call we took. LCBO, no tests. Strand, Herd, Greenbank, Hunt Club, Maryvale, Carling, Woodruff, all these people lining up outside of all of these LCBO stores. Not a test to be found anywhere. This is the story of the morning, I think. If you look, I'm going to give up my phone number right now. And I know Derek won't mind if we get a caller on the air here, like an eyewitness on the air at 75. So look, my number here at City News is 750-1310. If you were in that line this morning, only to walk away disappointed and empty-handed, 750-1310, 750-1310. And I was just talking to the newsroom. I haven't been on Twitter lately, but apparently this is all over Twitter now from all across Ontario. Like, they're tweeting about it in St. Catharines and London and Hamilton, like wherever there was supposed to be an LCBO with a rapid test. People are not happy that they got up in the morning, stood outside on a December morning, only to wait and walk away without a test. So with that being said, good morning, Derek Fage. You're not at the liquor store, are you, Derek?
My goodness, is Bruce Springsteen handing these out? What the hell are people doing waiting in line? I don't understand.
You wouldn't wait in line? You wouldn't wait in line? I mean, maybe they have somewhere they need to be. Maybe they have somewhere they need to be.
Listen, this is the LCBO. We're all going there at some point. Let's not kid ourselves.
Right, okay.
We're all going to be we're leading up to the holidays here. We're all going to be going. Why the rush?
Why the rush? Oh, well, let me ask Teresa. Hold on a second here. Teresa's called in from Hunt Club. Teresa?
Hi, how are you this morning?
Well, I want to know how you are, Teresa. What happened this morning?
Well, my husband and I went to go and get some rapid tests.
Yeah.
And there was a scrum and interesting number of cars and people rushing the doors.
Where was this, Teresa?
LCBO at Maryville and Hunt Club.
They were rushing the doors, Teresa?
Yes, well, the gentleman who works there had to come out and tell people quit blocking the doors because people actually wanted to buy liquor. But the thing is, the manager had to come out. Crystal, lovely woman. She came out, and the poor staff are getting battered by people complaining and being mean and, belligerent. And it's
Teresa,
not really
hold on.
fair on the staff.
Can I just ask a question?
Yeah.
Is there a free flat screen TV that comes with these tests?
No. I think it's just a peace of mind and being able to have a couple of people around the table at this wonderful time of year.
All right, Teresa. Thank you. Thank you. All right, hold on, Derek. We'll take a couple of more calls here.
Sure.
Okay?
Yeah, this is interesting.
Chris is at Bank and Walkley. Chris,
how are you?
We're good, Chris. What was going on at Bank and Walkley? That's the one with the the warehouse and everything. The Bank and Walkley.
Oh yeah, that's the beauty of a store.
Yeah.
I tried to rush over on my break to try and get one of those tests. There's a mega lineup outside, and the staff is standing out front with the sign to say, "Do not enter for tests. There's no test kits." And I talked to the guy. He said, "There's not there. They're not here yet. We don't know when they're coming, but they will be coming." So we've got a lot of people waiting for kits, and not really fair to the staff of that store either, or the people waiting outside.
I mean, it could be mayhem this time of year, like a week before Christmas Eve. This time of year at that store can be mayhem. based on my own experience with the Bank and Walkley
my
liquor
mom
store.
lives right around the corner. I've been there many times.
And Derek, they have that not a very big parking lot either, right, in that place. So
no, it's probably one of the smaller ones.
Yeah,
for sure.
hard to get in and out of. You got to cross all those lanes of traffic and everything. Holy cow! Was it a big line, Chris? Was there a big line there?
I would say there was at least 60 people in that lineup.
60 people. Holy cow!
Wow.
Yeah.
And what time of day would this have been? What time of day would this have been?
This is right now. I just skipped out from work to try and pick up the test. I'm heading back to work, and there goes my break.
All right, Chris. Thanks, Chris.
These are your callers, Rob. Though
it's okay,
impressive, right?
Yeah,
You've got people on the street.
Yeah. Eyewitness news, city news everywhere, from Bank and Walkley to Orleans. David. David's
rattled, by the way.
How are you?
Oh, we're good, David. Look, you were at an Orleans LCBO?
Yeah.
Which one?
The one closer to, Innocent 10th Line Road. And to be honest with you, I didn't even stop. I just dropped my son off at his elementary school and decided I was going to stop by. I couldn't even pull into the parking lot area. There were just too many cars. And I could see the lineup was already wrapped around the back of the building. There had to be at least 100 people in line. So I just decided to keep going. And what's interesting is we got a letter from our school, my son's elementary school, saying that there's going to be 2 test kits packs in his backpack when he's sent home from school today. So, we may resort to using 1 or 2 of those in his pack at some point over Christmas holidays, just in case.
All right, David. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, David.
Rob, he's got a...
Oh, sorry. I keep doing that to Derek. Derek? Yeah. Sorry, Derek. Go ahead. Yep.
No, I was just saying that this poor man has to resort to stealing his own child's test because he can't get one at the LCBO. This is insanity.
Yeah.
And by the way, your David is rattled. David, when he called me, he was just beside himself. He was beside himself.
Why is he beside himself?
He's not going to have access to a test at the LCBO.
Right.
Yeah. I'm just worried I won't be able to get into the LCBO. I don't.
It's not the test is not the priority for my producer. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes much more sense, David. Thank you for clarifying.
But isn't that something? This is what we've become now.
I didn't realize that there was going to be this kind of chaos.
It probably wouldn't be so chaotic if they had actually had some tests. Right?
Well, true, but I mean, I do appreciate the trust that people put in the government that, when they said they would be doing it, it would happen immediately. I mean, you don't see that kind of trust very often in government. So, if we take anything away from it, Rob, at least we can take that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your sense of where we're going here with this, Derek?
Oh, my God. I guess like many people, I think I've finally hit the point of COVID-19 fatigue. When the announcements were made, it's so deflating, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to follow all the rules. Am I going to pare down our Christmas get-together? I'm not so sure. We weren't having a lot of people anyway.
Right.
We're heading up to the cottage, and, we're going to probably have, one group of friends over, maybe 1 or 2 couples, and that's about it. I got my booster lined up. So
good.
And that's a good thing. I don't know. Yeah. I feel like we're all kind of feeling defeated.
Yeah.
At this point.
I can hear it in your voice, and I'm right there with you, brother. I'm right there with you.
I just oh my God, we have to go through this again.
Yeah. I'm at the point now. I thought we were in the final innings. Now I don't even know what inning we're in anymore.
Oh yeah. I actually, it's funny. I feel like we're starting the first inning again.
Like, is it Grapefruit League all over again or what?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Got to run because Dr. Etches is standing by. But look, thanks for doing our eyewitness radio this morning.
Oh, this was great.
Derek. Yeah, it was
great,
a lot of fun.
Rob.
Okay, speak soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, be well.
Take care.
Derek Fage is the host of Daytime Ottawa on Rogers Television. We'll take more eyewitness news right after the 10 o'clock news during the Friday Free For All Talkback Hour. You talk about whatever you want. I love that stuff from the LCBO, though. And Dr. Etches on the way. City News.
To opening running a business especially in a pandemic, in that kind of situation, is very challenging. First, people don't know me, people don't know my product. To build a new clientele, to build a trust for them, to show them that I care about it. I do love my food. That was the biggest challenge. And of course, in all lockdown, we had to face it regards my employee, girls, ladies, what they work for me. I didn't want to tell them, sorry, I'm closed, I'm not having a job for you. No, they have families, they have kids to feed. So this is very important because we are family orientated. And we decided to open. We, of course, essential business. So been very tough, very, very tough, as we didn't see people on the road. Market was completely quiet, but we knew that we have to wait, and we knew that we're gonna be fine. In this time, we built online shop, Vedel Online, and we did Uber Eats, which one is picking up and is very, very popular. We have a really good feedback. So this is the song for my heart. And and we try to expand. I'm thinking about opening another location. So I want to make Vedel famous. I want to make the Vedel place to be for all the families with kids. Try the traditional food, what their grandparents cooked in the countries when they're from, or even Canadian people. They're more than welcome to come and try our famous pierogis. I try to be passionate about my food, organic food made with love, with all homemade, organic. So you can find food from all over the Europe: Polish, German, Ukrainian, Romanian, French, Armenian, so all kind of different types of food. Homemade lunches, we focus on the homemade lunches, grandma style. I keep always saying, like in my Genia Babcia house, how she cooked, I wanted this love and this food over here because I believe that would bring all people around me. And all the organic cold cuts, lovely selection of sausages, cheeses, European cheeses, great selections of mustards, French cookies. All what you need from Europe you can find here at the Vedel Touch of Europe. If you think good way, that's it. You have to. I had the option to cry in the corner and say, oh, pandemic is coming. No, you need to stand up and fight for it and have your eyes open, think outside of the box and do it.
The Rob Snow Show returns on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's been the biggest story, well, really for the last 3 weeks, and it really hit a crescendo yesterday, I think, after the briefing from Dr. Steiny Brown at the provincial level with the Ontario Science Table, using words like circuit breaker, and people are automatically going to hear that and say, whoa, circuit breaker? What? Here we go again? Because of Omicron, and how contagious it is. So let's localize this and welcome back to the Rob Snow Show on City News, Dr. Vera Etches, Ottawa's Chief Medical Officer of Health. And once again, good morning.
Good morning, Rob.
So I think a lot of people will understand, yes, cases are going up, and they could go up exponentially. I know I get that. The exponential phenomena of COVID-19. But it seems that there's a disconnect between case counts, which are going up, and what the real life situation in the hospitals. I mean, according, just this morning, Dr. Etches, according to Ottawa Public Health's own COVID-19 dashboard, hospitalizations from COVID-19 went down this week from 7 down to 5, and nobody is in ICU. So I'm one of them, and I think a lot of people are wondering, why are we hitting the panic button?
Well, Rob, it's not so much the panic button. It's the now is the time to act to prevent things from getting worse. I mean, not even, they will get worse because it takes some time once we act to blunt the curve. The reason being that we are seeing something we haven't seen before in this pandemic in terms of the speed of transmission. And so we expect, it's true, we don't have a fine understanding of exactly how much severe disease will follow, but we do expect severe disease to follow this rapid growth. It can take 2 weeks. 3 weeks till we see the impact on hospitalizations and deaths. Because most people are vaccinated, this is helping prevent severe disease. But with this Omicron, the vaccine effectiveness is lower. And so vaccinated people are getting ill with symptoms. They're passing it on. We want them to stay out of hospital, but we know when it reaches people, particularly above 65 years of age, that's where the risk for severe illness lies. As, of course, in unvaccinated people, it's the greatest risk. So we can't get everyone their boosters and reach those unvaccinated populations with 3 doses in time. It's moving too quickly, and so we can use what we have in our control to try to blunt that growth. So here in Ottawa, the COVID has doubled last week. It's doubling again today. You'll see that in the numbers, and
so yesterday's number was about 200, so you think it'll be about 400 today then?
Well, probably 300 or so.
300.
So within this week, it's doubling. The pattern in other places is every 3 days, and so it's really going to change how we handle this. We're going to have to take a look at how people access testing. There won't be enough for anybody who wants a test at the assessment centers. We're going to have to prioritize. Like, these are things that are coming really quickly, and it's hard to absorb. But we know that the main goals, of course, are to protect people who are at risk of that severe illness and, keep our hospitals functioning. Right. But for individuals, there's a lot of things they can do to stay safe.
Okay. Just before we get to that, though, I don't want to belabor this, but I do want to circle back to it because this is what I get from lay people. I'm a lay person, and so if I need it explained to me, I know other people need it explained to them. Right now, they're well in hand in the hospital right now. It's about what it could be because of how fast the cases are multiplying because of the exponential nature of this virus. Sit there, type in, 200 and go multiply 2.2 and just keep hitting equals and see how big and how fast the numbers go. It doesn't take long to get to a big number. And because that case number is going to, unfortunately, be so large, it won't take much of a percentage of those cases to cause problems with the hospital system, to cause capacity problems with the hospital system. That's really the issue, isn't it?
You're right. A small percentage of severe illness on a large number is still too many people who will require that support from hospitals. And I know I've spoken to the hospital situation. It's good. We don't have much COVID in the hospitals, but we have hospitals that are under stress. Like they really have plans for more ICU beds. They'll be able to, increase their ICU beds, but they don't have more people, more nurses, more doctors, and this is the challenge, right? There is a limit there in terms of how much the system is able to expand. But I think it's hard to take this in right now. People have heard this message before, so I just want people to understand that Omicron is different from previous phases where it's going so quickly. We are going to have to manage it differently. So for now, you see what is happening with our case and contacts. We're having to tell anybody who's a high-risk contact of someone who tests positive, even if they're vaccinated now, to stay home for 10 days because vaccinated people are picking this up quickly and passing it on quickly. And that's potentially a lot of isolation. This is a challenge ahead of us, where previously we've been asking people then confirm with a test, make sure you didn't pick up the COVID. We're going through this step at a time, but we know that even accessing testing is going to become a challenge. So people will need to do their part to understand if they have symptoms, if they need to stay home and do that isolation so that it's not passed on to others.
Okay, so Dr. Brown yesterday called for a circuit breaker. Now, they say it's not a lockdown, a circuit breaker to cut contacts by 50%. Your thoughts on that and what is being considered at the local level, Doctor?
So it is good advice. It will help as well as we're, booster doses for as many people as we can, as fast as we can. That is our goal. We're really working on that. We've doubled vaccine appointments this week. We're going to keep going. I wish we could double and double every 3 days like the virus. We're working on it. But the point being that the number of close contacts we have is really what allows COVID to keep being passed on. And so decreasing that ourselves has never really been enough. In the previous surges, we've always had to go to changing the environment, to actually limiting the number of close contacts people can have through capacity limits in different settings. So that is what we're looking at today. What kinds of settings have had restrictions previously around capacity limits, reinstating some of that just to help us protect each other. It adds to what we can do individually.
What is your advice to the people of Ottawa for Christmas and New Year's, for parties and get-togethers and whatnot?
Yeah, at this point, I would really recommend that people move their in-person gatherings to virtual gatherings, to move indoor things to outdoors, to limit the number of people that are gathering together. It's not something we want to see where people pick up COVID and then pass it to someone on let's say the Christmas day or the other days when families with older adults are getting together. So it's really now we should be prioritizing staying safe so that we can gather with the smaller friends and family group that we were planning for the holidays. And if we can make that group smaller, then that's better.
What is your advice on the use of rapid tests? When are they useful and when are they useless?
I actually think that we've learned more about rapid tests, and with Omicron, because it's so transmissible, people get a high viral load quickly. It's actually better in detecting infectious COVID. So there is definitely a role for rapid tests to understand if someone has COVID. It's also more effective. You'll have less false positives when COVID is high in the community, like we're seeing is happening. So the rapid tests are an option. I mean, the problem with them is that they aren't available, to everybody to use as often as would really help stop transmission. So they're a tool to use to inform, but they're not something that's going to change the trajectory of growth here. And typically in the past we've been saying if you have a positive, treat it as a real positive, but get a confirmatory test. And I think this is where we're entering into a period where we may have to rethink even that confirmatory test if we have capacity for that. So people who have a positive on a rapid test, they should isolate for 10 days and treat it as Omicron.
Okay, one final thing. There's a report in the New York Times this morning. There's a news report. The New York Times surveyed 1,300 mental health therapists and asked them what words do they hear most often in their therapy sessions. And the most common responses were stressed, anxious, overwhelmed, burned out, depressed, lonely, isolated, stuck, empty, uncertain, and my personal favorite, done. Like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Because my wife actually said that to me. COVID, I'm so done with it. I'm so done with it.
It's really important to keep going because we have tools that can make a difference and get us through this. So I want to ask people not to give up. The vaccination they did will help. The choices they make about their gatherings will help. There are things in our control, and we need to focus on that because it's not hopeless. we'll be through this. This surge will come and go, and we want to have supported people through it. So where there are friends and family who feel like it's too much, we need to be helping them, supporting them through, and finding times to laugh. Like there are people need to know that someone cares about them, helping them smile. Like these are tough times, and I'm concerned, of course, for businesses. They've been through so much. We can do this. We're tough. Like we'll make it through. We just need to help make sure that as many people are helping each other when that is feeling too tough.
Okay. Look, thank you, Dr. Etches, for those wise words. And if I don't speak to you before the holidays, I hope it's all the best for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
WW 1310 AM in Ottawa.
And CJET 1011 FM in Smiths Falls and the Valley. Number one for local news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 1011 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Friday, December 17th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in Ottawa and in Smiths Falls, it's 5 degrees, and here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. Huge lineups for nothing. People gathered at 7 LCBOs in Ottawa distributing free rapid COVID-19 tests, only to find out they have not arrived yet. They're apparently en route to the city, but attempts to get clarification from the LCBO head office have so far not been returned. This person among those phoning City News and the Rob Snow Show this morning to say what they're seeing at their LCBO.
People complaining and being mean and, belligerent.
Now, Chris went to the bank at Walkley to get one of the free COVID tests.
Staff is standing out front with the sign to say, do not enter for tests. There's no test kits. And I talked to the guy. He said there's not there. They're not here yet. We don't know when they're coming, but they will be coming.
Now, Chris says it's not fair to the people who were told to go to these select LCBOs for their free COVID test, and also not fair to the workers who, as you heard, some are being hurled abuse at. It's also not an isolated problem, the same situation at LCBOs this morning around Toronto. City News Time, 10:03. Now your forecast with weather specialist Denise Andriachi.
Still breezy and mild this morning across the Ottawa region. For Smiths Falls this afternoon, sun and cloud near 4 degrees. Will be mostly cloudy in Ottawa. Afternoon highs also near 4. We're back to seasonal tonight. Cooler air moves in. Lows near -8, feeling like -12. The daytime high today, 4 degrees.
And right now, 5 degrees in both Ottawa and Smiths Falls. A preview of the number of COVID cases today from our Queen's Park reporter Richard Southern. He has seen the new cases today standing at 3,124. We're expecting our local numbers very shortly. Now, the new number comes as a growing number of health units call for the province to issue more restrictions to prevent further spread of COVID-19. That includes Dr. Vera Etches, the Chief Medical Officer of Health for the City of Ottawa, who tells Rob Snow why this is needed.
We are seeing something we haven't seen before in this pandemic in terms of the speed of transmission. And so we expect, it's true, we don't have a fine understanding of exactly how much severe disease will follow, but we do expect severe disease to follow this rapid growth.
Now, Etches says it will take 2 to 3 weeks to see the impact of this latest wave on hospitalizations and death. With COVID-19 cases surging, the national death toll from the virus now surpassed 30,000. There are stricter public health rules introduced in a number of provinces. Now, starting Monday, all bars, restaurants, and retail stores and places of worship in Quebec will be limited to 50% capacity. In Ontario, venues with a capacity of more than 1,000, including Canadian Tire Centre, will be capped at 50% limit. As it stands, the Senators are hosting Boston Sunday afternoon at 5. But the NHL has just cancelled the Bruins Montreal game scheduled for tomorrow night due to a COVID outbreak on the Bruins, including 7 players, as well as a staff member. Ottawa police say a missing 20-year-old man we told you about earlier this morning has now been found safe. Luca Matko was last seen in the Prince of Wales and Third Line Road South area yesterday afternoon around 1:30. Ottawa police this morning say he has been found and safe. I'm Andrew Boyle for News Anytime. Follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
It's time to talk back
on the Rob Snow Show.
Have your say and call now.
613-750-1310.
Yep, it's the Friday free-for-all. That's our favorite hour of the week around here. We don't come up with the topics. That's your job for the hour. We've been coming up with topics all week. So it's your turn. It's always an adventure. We do our best to roll with it. 750-1310, 750-1310, 613-750-1310. You know, I love eyewitness news, city news everywhere. So if you were one of those people in line this morning at a local LCBO outlet hoping to get one of those free rapid tests, I'd love it if you set the scene for me, okay, at 750-1310. You know, when'd you get there this morning? How many people were there when you got there? How long was the line? You know, this kind of stuff. How long did you wait before you learned we have no tests? And while you were there, did you pick something up anyway? Hey, while I'm here. Look, Chris Curries was on the anchor desk for us at City News all morning and then drove the short distance down to Bank and Walkley at the LCBO outlet there. And Chris joins me now here on City News. Chris, what's the latest from Bank and Walkley and the LCBO there, Chris?
I'd say, Rob, we've got maybe 30 people still waiting outside for a rapid test. Overall, nobody knows anything. The staff say that there's a truck. That's about all they know. So every truck is on rapid test watch, whether it's a delivery driver or someone. You get the whole crowd going like, ooh, could these be the tests? But no one has any idea. And people have been here for at least an hour, a good chunk of them, and they're waiting. They're saying, can I get it? I got the time now. I've booked my time to come here, and they're just waiting now.
Okay, but have they been told we have no tests? They've been told we have no tests.
Everyone has been told that they have no tests at the moment. They've told a couple times. They've come out. As I was walking up to the LCBO, there's a staff member with a big cardboard sign that says, we do not have rapid tests. And there's another one at the door with another cardboard sign, roughly the size of me. We do not have rapid tests.
Right.
So it's clear to anybody else who's going to walk up that they do not have rapid tests at the moment.
But nevertheless, you still have a few dozen people, and they're just kind of circulating around the parking lot of the LCBO waiting.
Yeah, it's around the building. If you know the area, it goes around the building towards the Home Depot.
Right.
Yeah, I'd say there's about 30 people now, and there was a little bit more when I got here.
Okay. All right, Chris, thanks for checking in. If if a truckload of rapid tests show up, give us a call back, I guess.
Oh, yeah, I'll let you know.
Yep, thank you, Chris. Chris Curries of City News, doing double duty today. Okay, in the morning, anchoring the news, and then hops in the newsmobile and heads on over to the LCBO. How's that for dedication? So look, this is how we roll, right? On the Friday free-for-all, we don't come up with topics. You come up with the topics. I mean, there's really been one topic all week. It's been Omicron, and everything else more or less flowed from that, because we're in a very different place today than we were 3 weeks ago. And it's been 3 weeks, right? The first headline started appearing in the news media about Omicron about 3 weeks ago today. And now look at where we are compared to where we were back then. You know, I will honestly say 3 weeks ago I was feeling pretty good about where we were. Vulnerable getting booster shots, children getting vaccinated. It kind of felt like we were in the mopping up stages, right? Let's get ready, have a nice Christmas. And then this Omicron variant came along, and it's just been a kick in the nether regions. And I'll be honest with you, I said to the boss, I need a few days off. And the boss said, yeah, take a few days. I needed to collect myself and wrap my head around the idea of doing another year of radio shows about COVID-19. I started doing the Rob Snow Show on City News about 2 years ago, and most of my time has been consumed with this, and nothing but this, like hour after hour after hour, day after day after day, talking about this new pandemic life of ours from every conceivable angle with people from all walks of life. And I mean, I'm one of the lucky ones, okay? I'm one of the lucky ones. Didn't lose a job, never lost a business, didn't get sick, didn't end up in the hospital. Didn't lose a loved one because of COVID. Don't have loved ones in long-term care. I don't have friends or family that work in the hospitals. And I try to remind myself, you know what? I'm one of the lucky ones. Didn't need the CERB. Didn't need a rent relief check to keep the lights on at my business. But I'll tell you, at the same time, it's draining, man. COVID, nothing but COVID. It like never ends, and it's not over yet. It's not over yet. And gosh, wouldn't you hate to think that after all we've been through, the worst could be yet to come? I would hate to think that after all we have been through together. I don't know. It seems like over the last 3 weeks, we've moved backwards instead of forwards. Look at the news stories we're doing this morning. People lining up outside liquor stores for a test kit that isn't even at the liquor store. Peter in North Dundas. Peter, you're on City News. Good morning.
Season's greetings, Rob.
Yes, sir.
Digression from the usual topic.
Yes.
A couple of things quick. Math, as Lowell would say, it's all in the math. Rob, I give you a penny cent on January 1st, and then the second day I double that to 2 cents. Double again the third day, you get 4 cents.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the week, that's quarter way through the month, you got 64 cents. Guess how much at the end of a month, 31 days in January, on the 31st day, it's $10,600,000.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. See, that's exponential math.
Yeah, you seem like you were mentioning just how explosive exponential growth is.
Yes.
We used to be told that back when interest rates were high, and Dad would say, people don't know how much you can make with this compounding interest, but that gives you an idea. Start with a penny. And one other thing, Rob, leave you with something light. There's three kinds of people in this world, those who can add and those who can't. You got it. You know,
I got it, Peter. Thank you. That's great. That made my day. Kevin in Stittsville. Kevin, you're on City News.
Yeah, I'm still laughing about that guy said. That's a good one.
That's a good one. Yep.
I just want to reiterate this thing. Just like I said, I think I said it on an earlier call. The panic police are alive and well. You know, case counts are soaring, and yet hospitalizations are going down. Maybe it's time we just take a look at this and say, look, let's not panic. You know, like let's just not panic, because there's nobody in the ICUs, and there's only 5 people in the hospital in Ottawa.
In Ottawa,
is that true around the world? Like, that's what I'd like to know. Is that a universal figure, or is that just in Ottawa? I don't think so. I think it's general. It's just that they love to make us panic.
Well, do you think it's an overreaction here?
Absolutely.
We're overreacting?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's the way we are now. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if I go on the Weather Network and look at it the way the weather is right now, and probably there's a great big red thing flashing saying, calm weather alert. You know, like I mean, it's a big deal.
Alert. Weather is calm.
Nice weather today. It's an alert. I don't know. Anyways, I'm just saying I think people are overreacting this time.
All right.
I mean, COVID was a thing to react about. That's true. But this one, I think they're just trying to milk it for more panic and more. I don't know why we do this.
Well, I would advise everybody, if they read one news story today, my goodness, read Sharon Kirky in the National Post. His front page story in the National Post is the official Omicron paranoia overblown. Frustration, fatigue have overtaken fear. I mean, they're basically, to me, over the last decade or so, there are 2 great health reporters in the country. You have Andre Picard at the Globe and Mail, and you have Sharon Kirky at the National Post, and they're both worth buying the newspaper for. Always. Yeah. Read her story in the Post this morning. It's really, really good.
Check her out.
Yeah. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for your call. Yeah, 750-1310, 750-1310. Friday, free for all on the Rob Snow Show on City News.
I started, as I said, at Lester's Barber Shop, and it was kind of, it was one of those things that it was just an opportune time for me to get into it, just because he had decided that he was going to retire after the fire, and then the opportunity presented itself that I could open my own shop. And so I went from a 150 square foot space on St. Patrick's Street to a 600 square foot space just on Beechwood to now here, and I'm in a 1,400 square foot space now. And I don't know, it's been an interesting journey because, you know, you think that you're just going to be just you or a really small space, and then all of a sudden, you know, you've got 10 other people working for you, you're in a much bigger space, and even incorporating the boutique. Last March, when all of this started, I mean, we closed down a little bit earlier than everybody else, and I'm going to say, you know, being honest, part of it was social pressure. We shut down before everybody else did, and I'm watching all these other salons, you know, just be really responsible and saying we don't want to be a part of the process. So we got ahead of it and closed, and then, you know, the week later, the government's like, everybody's shutting down. And so it was a little nerve-wracking. I guess the first step of us, you know, trying to innovate and just keep moving forward was when the salon is closed, right? It's like, what do you do? Our whole industry is based on being with people, cutting their hair, providing a service. You have to be people together to do that. You can't do that remotely at all. So one of the first things that I saw in our industry, what people were trying to do was they were selling their hair products that they had. And luckily, I've had a website that always had a web store in the back. I just never used it. So as soon as I saw that people were doing that, I was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to load up all my stuff. And so that worked out really, really well. And then from there, I managed to find a place that was like a wholesale website that allowed you to have net 60 days. So you don't have to, you can order all the stuff. You don't have to prepay any of it. There's free returns, all that. So that made it really easy for me to bring in other products. and start trying to sell it. And so I went from selling hair products to shave products to bath and body products to a little bit of clothing and jewelry, and now it's just morphed into this whole, like, I want to make it a whole legit boutique. And by December of last year, I decided that this is a full-fledged thing, and we're going to separate it. It's its own company. So it's really finding an opportunity that's there and running with it. So it's been really fun. Our clients are loving it. Our clients that have been here for a long time, they love it.
On the Rob Snow Show. The phone lines are open at 613-750-1310.
Now, the Rob Snow Show continues.
Yeah, Friday free-for-all, but let me, this is just in here. Dr. Vera Etches, we just had on the show, Ottawa Medical Officer of Health, will provide a brief update, answer questions from the media on Ottawa's ongoing response to the COVID-19 pandemic at 2 o'clock this afternoon, along with Kim Ayotte, General Manager, new in this role, General Manager, Emergency and Protective Services, used to be the Fire Chief, Kim Ayotte. And this is the curious part of this. Roger Chapman, Director of Bylaw, will also be available to answer questions at 2 o'clock this afternoon. 294 cases in Ottawa, 3,124 across the city today. So that's where we are with that. It's a Friday free-for-all. We can talk about anything. Another big story this week has been Bill 21, of course. We had Patrick Brown on, the mayor of Brampton, yesterday, leading the charge at the municipal level anyway to try and mount some sort of defense or help fund the people who are fighting against Bill 21 in Quebec. But good morning, Roger. In Drummond, that's your topic this week, Roger. Good morning.
Yes, it is, Rob. I think it's time for me to turn the page. I listened to the article with, that interview with Patrick Brown yesterday, and I was kind of buoyed,
Yeah.
Rob, if there's such a place called hell, I think the last 2 years the world has felt some of it,
Yeah.
And Canada's always been a beacon of hope for people fleeing tyranny, poverty, famine, and our principles were built on that since our inception. Now, the idea that Quebec has that Bill 21, which to me is a racist bill, and it's built on a bit of hatred in my mind,
Yeah.
And also this bill with the language bill. Now, I remember during the past election, Rob, during the English television debate, Monsieur Blanchette from the Bloc Leader, he talked about the fact that they can't fill positions for growing industries and because they're not getting enough immigrants. Now, when people come to this country, they don't come for that type of bigotry, so maybe that's an issue there too. But I am buoyed with that interview you had with Patrick Brown, and they're going to kick in $100,000. I believe the mayor of Calgary is looking at throwing in some money, and I'm sure a lot of mayors from across Canada, because this law has got to be squashed. And I really think with all the hatred going on in this world, Rob, I think Mr. Blanchette and the leader of Quebec,
Legault, yeah.
I think maybe it's time they look into their heart and say, we made a mistake, and we're going to get rid of this, okay? And I'd like to end on maybe a better note, Rob.
Okay.
On behalf of 1310, yourself, Dave, all your producers, your guests, your callers, your listeners, and all your families, may the winds of fortune always blow your way, and a Merry Christmas to one and all.
Very kind of you, Roger, and we appreciate hearing from you and getting, you're like our Drummond Township correspondent, Roger.
Pleasure to do it, Rob, and you're my beacon on the world.
My goodness. Thank you.
Rob.
Thank you. It's very kind of you. It's very kind of you when callers say stuff like that. I really, I take it to heart. Barry in Ottawa. Barry.
Good morning, Rob.
Yeah, good morning, Barry. What's up?
Yeah, I wanted to talk about, after seeing an interview with the Prime Minister by Evan Solomon on CTV National News on Monday night. Evan Solomon asked him about inflation, and Trudeau blamed inflation on COVID. There was not one question asked about the carbon tax causing inflation, or did Trudeau bother to mention it? In his calm, cool manner, he just brushed it off as COVID. And it was almost like he didn't regard inflation as a big concern. And I find it appalling that he can put the carbon tax on. He can, and also from what I've heard, that the part of the inflation cause is the Liberals printing extra money because of their debt. And I just think it's outrageous that he hasn't got any concern about it at all, because it really doesn't affect him at all. He's got lots of money and rich family and whatever else, and all the taxpayers' money to do whatever he wants to with. And I just think it's...
Well, I found it interesting, I don't know if you've been following this saga about mandate letters. This is kind of inside the Beltway or inside baseball kind of stuff, mandate letters. These never even used to be public, and then Mr. Trudeau made them public. So when the Prime Minister forms a cabinet and names cabinet ministers, he or she issues each of them a mandate letter. Congratulations, you're the finance minister. This is what I want you to work on. This is your mandate, and on down the line. So the Ottawa Vanier Liberal MP, Mona Fortier, was named to the cabinet, president of the Treasury Board, which means she's in charge of the public service. She's like the chief operating officer of the public service, right? So her mandate letter was published yesterday. And basically, these are her marching orders from the Prime Minister. And I happened to read through the mandate letter, and among them is this gem. Listen to this. Initiate a comprehensive and continuous strategic policy review of government programs to examine how major programs and policies contribute to meeting the biggest challenges of our time, including achieving net zero emissions by 2050, improving fairness and equality, and promoting quality of life and growth for everyone.
Not one thing about inflation.
Like, I can't afford butter at the grocery store, but, whatever. Mona, your job right now is to meet the biggest challenges of our time. That's your mandate. Oh, is that all, Mr. Prime Minister?
Yeah.
Not like, how about making sure you can try and pay the public service on time? How about fixing Phoenix Pay? How about coming up with a back-to-work plan? Meeting the biggest challenges of our time, including net zero emissions, improving fairness and equality, promoting quality of life and growth for everyone. Like,
totally,
come on.
Totally
what is
out
this
of
stuff?
Totally out of touch.
Like, what is this stuff? What is this stuff? Who comes up with this? Who writes this stuff, Barry? It's crazy. Thanks, Barry. I got you.
Hey,
I got you.
Rob, one more point.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Just if anybody's interested in hearing that bull, that interview is supposed to be repeated on CTV Question Period this week.
Oh, okay. All right, Barry. All right. Okay. I worked with Evan Solomon, of course, for many years, and Evan will hold the Prime Minister's feet to the fire. Of that, I have no doubt. Jackie, Cumberland. Jackie, good morning.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm hanging in there because it's Friday, Jackie.
Well, I'm hanging in there too. It's the first time I've listened to you in forever.
In forever? Well, what?
I just never tuned you in. I'm watching Matlock, and I just never tuned you in. Please forgive me.
Matlock? People still watch Matlock?
Yeah.
Okay.
Please forgive me.
Oh, that's okay.
I tend to think that the doctor is pushing the panic button on this.
You do, eh? Okay.
COVID thing, and like I already have plans to go out with my brother on Monday, and is she going to screw that up by saying, no, the restaurants have to shut down. You won't be able to do that, and it's that, I depend very heavily on my brother. He's the only family I've got here in Ottawa, and he brings my stuff, and we go out, and talking to him at the door is not like spending time with him in a restaurant. You know what I mean?
Right.
And when you're blind, and you're blind like I am, and he's the only family you've got, you really... The closeness is more mutual than any other thing,
Yeah. Are you vaccinated?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, your brother's vaccinated?
Yes.
And you wear masks?
Boosters, too.
Yep. Oh, boosters, too. Good. Okay. Well, I'm not going to give you advice, but I would follow Dr. Etch's advice. And right now, they haven't done anything with restaurants, Jackie, so... I don't know what they're going to announce tomorrow or this afternoon. But
not worry about it until they announce it and then go from there.
early in the pandemic, we had an expert in mental health on the program from the Royal Ottawa, Jackie, and what she told us to do, and it's good advice, is don't borrow worries from the future. Okay? Just kind of be in the moment, deal with what you can today. Don't worry about tomorrow. Don't be worrying about tomorrow all the time. It'll drive you crazy, Jackie. It'll drive you crazy. Don't borrow worries from the future.
My mom was a worrier, and I inherited it.
Okay. All right, Jackie. Thank you. And look, call anytime, Jackie. Call anytime. I'm here all week. Okay. I'm like the furniture. Okay. I never leave. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's nice to hear from you. Yeah. Don't bore. Remember when she said that? Like a year and a half ago? That was when we thought it was going to be 2 weeks. That this would last for 2 weeks. Yeah, we'll have a 2-week lockdown. That'll be the end of it, and everybody will get back to their normal life. Don't borrow worries from the future. In the future is the news, and then the second half of the Talkback Hour on the Rob Snow Show on City News.
In Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Friday, December 17th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in Ottawa and in Smiths Falls, 5 degrees, and here's what's making news this hour. A tremendous inconvenience for the dozens who lined up at 7 different LCBOs in Ottawa this morning. They were there to pick up their free COVID-19 rapid test. Unfortunately, there were none. Delivery didn't make it in time this morning for the planned distribution. Most of the people City News has spoken with in front of the LCBO on Bank at Walkley, for example, don't blame the workers at the store, but the planning around the distribution to the outlets of these tests. The problem also not limited to Ottawa. LCBOs in Toronto that were supposed to do the same thing also didn't have any tests to hand out. The province has confirmed 3,124 new cases of COVID-19 today. Almost 10% of those are in Ottawa at 294. There are 40 more cases in Leeds, Grenville, Lanark, 21 in Eastern Ontario, 7 in Renfrew, and 5 more people have died from COVID in Ontario just in the last day. The positive rate from the over 51,500 tests completed has now climbed to 8.2%. The rising number of COVID among the reasons for a growing number of health units to call for further restrictions in Ontario. The top doctor in Ottawa, Vera Etches, says the alarming increase in cases is happening now, but she says we won't know the severity of the situation in relation to hospitalization and death for another 2 to 3 weeks. The doctor is scheduled to hold another media briefing this afternoon. NHL has postponed the Bruins-Canadiens game tomorrow night in Montreal. It's due to a COVID outbreak affecting at least 7 players on Boston. The Bruins, though, are still scheduled to play, at least for now, in the capacity-restricted Canadian Tire Centre against the Senators Sunday afternoon at 5. The NHL has not given word on the status of that game yet. City News Time, 10:33. I'm Andrew Boyle for News Anytime. Follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
It's time to talk back
on the Rob Snow Show.
Have your say and call now.
613-750-1310.
So Councillor Scott Moffat, who is soon not to be of this city council because he's not running again, Rito Goldberg counts, tweets at me. Rob, tough to compete with Matlock. Imagine if you had to compete with Murder, She Wrote in Colombo. Nice to see the councillor getting ready for the big Fedco meeting this morning. When's that starting? About a half an hour? Okay. All right. It's Friday. Mailing it in, I guess, councillor. Don in Canada. You're on City News. Don, good morning.
Hi.
Hi.
G'day.
G'day.
I discovered where all those COVID tests are.
Where are they?
They're in Toronto.
They're in Toronto. Okay.
Yeah, the center of the universe.
Right.
Yeah, on City News, they've announced that where all the locations where there can be picked up in Toronto, Etobicoke, New York, and Scarborough.
Yeah.
But then I hear now later that they're not available there either.
Well, yeah. I mean, we've been all over this story here this morning, right? So. Yeah. I was speaking with somebody in our newsroom who says it's not just Ottawa that's affected by this. That it's not really it's not like Toronto. The affected areas are kind of outside Toronto, like the Greater Toronto area, like 905. Apparently, they're having problems. Like people lined up outside the LCBO, no tests. But in Toronto, I don't know what the situation.
Well, the thing that bothers me about is the misinformation that's given out either at these news conferences. Well, it's almost like they're trying to make things look a little bit better than they are, or
I don't think anything is being done on purpose or with malice. I mean, there may be some confusion or something. I don't know.
Well, it does cause a lot of confusion, and it's not funny for these people to line up outside, in the morning.
Well, no, people are trying to do their best, Don. Yeah. This is the frustrating part. To hear politicians say, get your boosters. And then you go online and you try to buy, you try to book a booster shot, and it's a difficult process for some people to do that. Well, or when they do, it's not until January or February. I don't even qualify for one
That's
yet.
Right, but I listened to the news conference with Trudeau that was taking place in that interview that was spoke about, and he said, it's... get your booster shots, and he was told, he said, that's a provincial matter, that the administration of them, and Solomon just said, well, they're not in the country. So
yeah, and then it's and then it's get tested. We're gonna have millions of free tests, and then people go. I mean, it's still a weekday. It's a Friday. Like, people have lives and jobs to go to. And, one guy called us, he's on his break, and he thought, plans his whole day about, I'm going to go. He's trying to do people are trying to do the right thing. And they're being let down. Time and again, they're being let down.
Well, they should be a little bit more careful about what they release and when and the timing of things. And, after a while, you don't trust what you hear. So that's the point, that's dangerous when you get to the point when you just don't trust these statements anymore. So that's my rant.
All right, good one. Thank you. Okay. New information from David, the producer, on the difficulty some are experiencing in getting rapid tests from the LCBO. The health minister's office says, quote, tests are currently with the LCBO for distribution. It is our understanding the LCBO began distributing the tests to 100 stores this morning. Okay. All right. Whatever. Bob in Barrhaven. Bob, you're on City News.
How are we doing today,
We're
Bob?
doing. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, this is Grumpy Bob reporting from the Barrhaven liquor store. Not that I was there to get a COVID test, of course, but I was talking to the two guys that are standing outside trying to do crowd control, and they are beside themselves with the number of people that are lined up to get these tests, and they're just not available.
Yeah, they're not available. And if people know that they're not available, what are they still doing there?
I don't know. They're all milling around. There's people getting coffee. It's like they're going to pull up. There's people there with lawn chairs. I can't believe it. You know, it's not the showing of the first Star Wars movie. I mean, give me a break here, people. Like, you know, I think that there's a total breakdown in communications, and there's also this assumption that, you know, what they say is fact. So, you know, it's I think it's chaotic. I think it's totally out of control, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm telling you, they're doing everything to make me one.
All right, Bob. Thank you, Bob. Thank you.
Thanks.
Lawn chairs. This is what has become of us. Ches, Ottawa. Ches, you're on City News.
Hey, how are you doing, Rob?
Good, sir. Thanks.
I'm calling with regard to the Bill 21 legislation passed in Quebec.
Yes.
And I don't have to tell you that, you know, I said it before, this is a vile piece of racist legislation.
Yes.
And how is it possible that in a country like Canada that this kind of thing is going on, you know? I mean, the three leaders of the major parties, I just think are a bunch of cowards.
You're right.
I mean, they had an opportunity at the last debate, okay, to call them out, to call out this legislation. I mean, the moderator did.
Yeah.
But they stood there and just kind of, you know, went on their merry way and made some other, some appeasing comments. But had all three called that out for what it is, that could have probably changed, you know, the way votes would have went in Quebec. I mean, let's face it, they're afraid of losing votes in Quebec.
Well, I don't know if it would have. I don't know. I don't think it would have moved the needle in Quebec. It's very popular in Quebec because it's the majority support it. But just because the majority support it doesn't make it right.
Well, exactly.
The very thing is what in part what makes it so galling is the reason that we have official bilingualism in this country, for example, is because we recognize how important it is to protect minority rights. And in that case, it's the Francophone minority, largely in Quebec, but there are Francophone minorities in other parts of the country as well. And we want to protect minority rights in this country. So we do things like have official bilingualism, and we have hiring policies in the government of Canada because we want to protect minority rights. Protect minority rights. So then to have a minority that is protected to such a degree only turn around and then persecute another minority, it's so unbecoming of the country.
I mean, there should be outrage right across the country.
There should be, sure.
Starting from all the Liberals way down in Toronto there, that in those 40 or 50 ridings that voted for Liberals, right? Mm-hmm. Down that part there. Where's the Laurentian elite that support Trudeau in all of this, I mean, this is the way I look at it. We've probably seen the politics of language and separation since 1976 here, and I think it doesn't matter what goodies you give to the province of Quebec, there is clear. And Bill 21 and the language bill, I think, solidifies what they really want, and they will not stop until they have a mandate to actually leave Canada. Because, I mean, why else would you be passing this type of legislation?
Well, with legislation like that, a lot of people would wave them a friendly goodbye, I think, Ches. Thank you for your call. Got to move along. Very busy today. Rodney in Ottawa. Rodney, you're on City News.
Hey, good morning.
Are you calling from the liquor store, Rodney?
No, I'm not, but all those people that are lined up on the humorous side of things, it's not too humorous, it's kind of sad, just me being out shopping the last few weeks, just if they want to go when they're out shopping to where there's not a lineup, just go to the hand sanitizer station as you walk in through the store.
Okay.
Right. And, that's sort of part of the reason why we're in this sort of situation. And, it would just be so nice if everybody would follow the guidelines and we could all work through this together. Yeah. And I'll go back to the English lady a long time ago. The little mention of John this week that he mentioned, well, maybe some of the UK-type people because of being bombed during London. Well, what happened when, the air blitz was going on? If somebody didn't pull the curtain all the way, there's a little shed of light going out, a neighbor's going to tell another neighbor because everybody's sort of concerned. And then part of, another analogy I saw for not following the guidelines would be just people in general. And I'll just take you for a little trip in the park. And what I ended up seeing in the parking lot where people were quite entertained They're taking photographs. They're feeding the little deer some carrots. And then you'll be shocked when I tell you this. They started interchanging carrots with wieners, and the little deer was eating the wieners. So common sense guidelines. And now they got their pictures, but they don't know what happens to the little deer as it goes off. And then
Rodney, you're kind of scattered today, Rodney. I'm having a hard time following. I mean, we're from hand sanitizer stations to feeding deer wieners. I'm having a hard time keeping up, Rodney. Chris, Blackburn Hamlet. Chris, you're on City News.
Good day, Rob.
Hey, Chris.
I want to talk about the Patrick Brown and his motives for opposing Bill 21.
Yeah.
I'm not fussy about Bill 21, but at the same time, I question the timing. If it bothers him that much, that's fine, but why now? Like, why didn't he say anything when the bill was first introduced?
Well, he's the mayor of Brampton, really. I mean, what? I guess he wants to try and get municipalities to raise some funds to help fund the opposition to this, but that's fine. I don't know. Is it the place of the mayor of Brampton to be a leading voice in the opposition to Bill 21 in Quebec? Or should that come from, well, if there are any Federalists left in Quebec City, shouldn't it be up to them? And if there are any real federal leaders in Ottawa, shouldn't it be up to them to lead the charge? And I guess he feels there's a leadership vacuum, and he's willing to jump in and try and fill it.
Well, the Quebec government over the past 20 years doesn't seem to have any trouble running roughshod over Anglophones in Quebec, and I don't hear leaders outside of Quebec saying anything, and they should be talking about it, but they don't. Their silence is quite cowardly as far as I'm concerned, and all of a sudden now they're rising up to defend people in Quebec. I smell a rat here, and I also smell an election coming up in Ontario.
Well, yeah, there will be an election in Brampton the same day there'll be an election in Ottawa, right? All the big municipal elections are held on the same day. So,
yes, I suggest there's a bit of posturing here.
Well, maybe.
Look good for the election.
He's very ambitious, that's for sure. He's a tactician, no doubt about that. Lines available there, folks, on the Friday free-for-all. See, it's not just about COVID today. A lot of people weighing in on Quebec's Bill 21. I did, I think, 4 commentaries on that this week, Bill 21. Joe in Ottawa. Joe.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing. Sir, good. Thank you.
Good. Secularism in Quebec. I see a lot of hypocrites coming out because in 1961 they got rid of all of the nuns teaching in the schools in Quebec.
Yes.
So imagine if the new school year of 2022, little Johnny goes to school and he's got a nun, not in full habit, but with her headwear and modest clothing teaching. You will hear an uproar, my friend, an uproar. And no one will be happy about it.
Right.
But in the other case, so as far as secularism goes, I'm all for it. Look at Turkey, look at France. They have secular societies when it comes to their public institutions.
Right.
So I don't think it's a biggie. Like,
you don't think it's a biggie?
In your own life.
Right.
You know, you can certainly practice whatever religion, whatever culture that you please. But when it comes to a public institution, it should be secular. There's no if, and, or but about it.
Really?
And it's not race. It's not race.
So you don't think a Jewish person should be allowed to wear a kippah and teach school children? Be a doctor and work in a hospital?
Definitely not.
Definitely not.
Should be secular,
Definitely not.
secular all the way. Secular.
Secular all the way. Okay.
We live in a secular
You think you should
society.
impose secularism? You want to impose secularism?
Yeah.
Just
they do it
the
fast,
same.
and they do it
Well,
in
that's
Turkey.
no better than Quebec in the 1950s, then, sir, when the Catholic Church imposed Catholicism on Quebecers.
Yeah, they
It's the
certainly
exact
did.
same. Yeah, it's
I'm an Anglo-Quebecer, went to a Catholic school.
Sure.
Luckily for me, I started later than when the nuns were teaching, but my older sisters, they had the nuns teaching them, and they weren't too crazy.
So
about it.
so it was wrong to impose, say, if you want to consider Catholicism an ideology, it was wrong to impose that ideology, but it's right to impose this one, which happens to be secularism.
It's not an ideology.
It's not an ideology. Why is it an ism?
because everybody would be equal under secularism in a public institution.
Everybody's not equal. Clearly, everybody's not equal. Everybody's not equal in a secular society.
If you abide to
let's
the secular
let's
way,
call it what it is, Joe. We know what's going on in Quebec, Joe. We know what it's all about, Joe. They didn't like you when you were the Anglo in Quebec, Joe. They certainly don't like the Muslims either, and you and I both know it and don't deny it, because that's the ugly truth, Joe. And I got to run. 10:48. Rob Snow Show, City News.
When it came to opening the business, because I was so young, there was a lot that I didn't know about management, financial management, management of people, all around management, I think is the word that I always come back to. I think that I always had a passion, and I knew that I wanted to create a space for people to get their hair done, but I had no idea, even having studied business management, what it really took to open a business as well as sustain a successful business. So in 2014, I was actually working with Angela Sutcliffe. She was my business coach at the time, and she was like, what's your niche? Like, what separates you from other salons? And when we started to really dig, it was the curls. It was the fact that we work with all curl types: curly, kinky, wavy, coily, which is how we identify our curl types. And then you have straight hair as well, of course. But more than 70% of the world has some sort of curl pattern to their hair. And we just realized that was not being addressed. It wasn't something we learned about in school. So I went to the States and I traveled all over to kind of gain the information that I have now to be able to share it with our clients and as well as with other stylists. So in March, when it came, I thought it was gonna last, a week, 2 weeks, I think it started off at 2 weeks. And I was like, cool, I have 2 weeks to just relax, that's fine. So I was actually in a position where I was not happy, so to say, but I was a little bit happy, to be honest, just because of what I was experiencing personally. Now, when that extension started to happen, it was not a great feeling. It was very uncomfortable not knowing how I was going to support myself financially. So I'm so excited about the Academy. It's something that I started, and I launched it during the pandemic. So I've been teaching for a number of years. I've been educating for a number of years. I educated at Algonquin. I've educated at Versailles Hair Academy. And I've also educated in my own space, in this space and my old space up on Greenbank. And so it was just a continuum of what I've been doing for these years. When we have a client in our chair, it's not just about making your hair look great. It's about how do you go home and take what we've just taught you and emulate that. So now, with a world where people want to, quote unquote, be diverse and inclusive, what does that really look like in a salon setting? And for me, it looks like being able to invite any curl type, any hair type, really, because I can take care of straight hair types just as well as, I can take care of curls. And we cater to all curl types regardless of what you look like on the outside. We got you.
Rob Snow Show. The phone lines are open at 613-750-1310.
Now, the Rob Snow Show continues.
All right, 10:51. Coming up after the 11 o'clock news, by the way, Algonquin elder and special advisor to the dean at the University of Ottawa on issues of truth and reconciliation, Claudette Commanda is going to join us. I just love having Claudette Commanda on the Rob Snow Show. She's fabulous. That's coming up right after the 11 o'clock news. Steve Warren on sports, and then Queen's Park Week in Review, which I will just say Omicron, discuss, and we'll be on the way. David reached out to try and grab us an interview with the LCBO and try to figure out what's going on, and he received a response via email from the press office of the Liquor Control Board of Ontario, and I'm just going to read it here. It says, "Hi, David. Thank you for reaching out to the LCBO press office. An allocation of COVID-19 rapid test kits are starting to be available on a first-come, first-served basis at the select LCBO stores across the province. We expect most stores will receive supplies today, but cannot confirm exact arrival times at each location and do expect our limited supply to go quickly. We thank our customers for their patience and understanding. Our dedicated store staff will be doing their best to share updates with anyone waiting in line and distribute kits on arrival. Store signage is also being used at front doors to indicate if a store has kits and does not have kits or is expecting kits. Sincerely, press office at lcbo.com. That was very kind of them. At least they got back to you.
I'm pretty impressed.
I mean, there's not much new in there.
Yeah.
You know, we have some. They'll be there sometime, and then they'll be gone. Right? That's it, right?
Yeah, they're on top of it.
But man, oh man, a rush for tests. 2,400 cases yesterday in Ontario, 3,100 today, 200 yesterday in Ottawa, 294 today. That's what you call exponential growth. But 5 people in the hospital. At the beginning of the week, there were 7. Now there are 5. And still not a single person is in ICU. Not a single person. Okay? That's what has a lot of lay people like me mystified, because the health officials are calling for circuit breakers. In Quebec, capacity limits are back. No fans in the stands at the Habs game last night. Not a single patient in ICU in Ottawa. But what they're worried about is the rate of reproduction of the virus, okay? That cases are going to explode like we've never seen before, and the pure number of cases will ultimately result in some percentage, even if it's a small percentage, of severe illness. And maybe even if it is a small percentage, it's going to be a small percentage of a much larger number. And it's just a matter of time before the hospitals are in all-out crisis mode again. Look, you've been to the hospital before. I've been to the hospital before. Hopefully we don't have to be there soon. Knock on wood, right? It's managed chaos even at the best of times, and these aren't the best of times. And the great worry is resources will have to be diverted again because of COVID patients, and surgeries are going to have to be canceled again, and the wait list will grow longer again. And people who have been waiting and waiting and waiting, some people have died waiting for cancer surgeries, for heart surgeries. They're going to be told again, sorry to do this to you again. You're going to have to wait again. And as of the most recent data that I have from yesterday from the Public Health Agency of Canada, 80% of the hospitalizations for COVID, 80% of people in the hospital with COVID, 80% are unvaccinated, taking up beds in hospitals. Only 7% are fully vaccinated. And that's the data. And the data isn't a right-wing thing or a left-wing thing. It's just data. And you know how much? A news reporter should pick up on this, and this should be in the newspaper tomorrow. You know how much it costs to treat someone with COVID-19 in the hospital? This comes from CIHI, Canadian Institute for Health Information. Came across this morning. For April, May, and June, treating people in the hospital with COVID-19 cost the hospital system $600 million. And the average cost of treating one patient for COVID in the hospital is $22,000. And if you're admitted to the ICU, the average cost to treat an ICU patient is $48,000. And I would remind you, I reported this a few weeks ago, Singapore, they're so fed up with unvaccinated people taking up their hospital beds, they're sending the unvaccinated people the bill. You're going to pay it out of your own pocket. I don't think we should do that here, but I can understand the temptation, and I've taken calls from people who say, damn straight, we should be doing that here. But I want you to know, if you're not vaccinated, you're more likely to end up in the hospital, and you're going to take a bed from a cancer patient or a cardiac patient, and you're costing everybody else a whole lot of money. Way to go. Mike in Canada. Mike.
Well, the unvaccinated people put a ghost on them.
What? Mike? Mike? I guess Mike hung up. David, last call. David.
Yeah, I think I've got the conspiracy of the day for the kits at the liquor stores.
Yeah.
We're sure we don't have kits, but while you're here, we do have a special on the latest Ontario wine that's available. Let's quickly get to the people who with COVID taking up the beds. I'm not a potential. I'm a cardiac patient. I'm waiting for results, and I will need surgery to replace a valve and a 70% blockage on my angiogram. Thank you for all those people who are going to be in my way.
God bless you, David. All the best, buddy. Talk soon. All right, that's the Talk Back Hour. Over and done with. Call me on Monday after the 10 o'clock news at 750-1310. The wonderful and wise Claudette Commanda Algonquin Elder on a year of attempted reconciliation after the news on City News.
WW 1310 AM in Ottawa.
And CJET 1011 FM in Smith Falls and the Valley. Number one for local news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 1011 FM and 1310 AM.
It's Friday, December 17th. Good morning. I'm Andrew Boyle. Right now in Ottawa and in Smith Falls, 5 degrees. Here's what's making news in Ottawa and the Valley. We have the daily case count of COVID in Ontario, and it has gone over 3,000 for the day. The province says 3,124 new cases, along with 5 more deaths, have been recorded. Now, 294 of the cases are in Ottawa's health unit area, 40 in Leeds, Grenville, Lanark, 21 in Eastern Ontario, 7 more cases in Renfrew. The positive rate from the over 51,500 tests that were done has climbed now to 8.2%. Wake up early, get to the LCBO by 9, and get your free COVID-19 rapid test. Well, that was the plan for many in Ottawa today. But many hours past 9 a.m., and people still hadn't received their test.
The truck has not arrived, and they don't know where the truck is. I mean, is it in Oshawa? Is it on Bank Street? We don't know.
I don't know what the government was expecting, like announcing this and then not telling the people who are handing out the kits, like what the process is going to be, like when the kits are arriving. I don't know why they didn't deliver the kits like a day ahead of time so they'd be ready right at 9 a.m.
Now, the province had announced the free rapid test would be made available starting this morning at select LCBOs. The move, part of the government's enhanced testing strategy. Now, the LCBO head office says most stores are going to get their supply of those rapid tests today. They can't confirm the exact time, but in a statement to City News, they say the supply is limited and once it arrives, it will go quickly. The LCBO does thank you for your patience and your understanding. City News Time 11:03 for the second straight day. Ottawa's Chief Medical Officer of Health will be addressing the media. Dr. Vera Etches has a briefing planned on COVID-19 for 2 o'clock this afternoon. Earlier this morning, she was on the Rob Snow Show on City News and was asked what the main concern is right now.
Most people are vaccinated. This is helping prevent severe disease. But with this Omicron, the vaccine effectiveness is lower. And so vaccinated people are getting ill with symptoms. They're passing it on. We want them to stay out of hospital, but we know when it reaches people, particularly above 65 years of age, that's where the risk for severe illness lies.
Now, Etches says people have to act now to blunt this COVID curve. She says while they don't have a fine understanding of the severity of what's to come, they do know it's coming in 2 to 3 weeks. City News Time 11:03. Now your forecast with weather specialist Denise Andriacci.
Still breezy and mild this morning across the Ottawa region. For Smiths Falls this afternoon, sun and cloud near 4 degrees. Will be mostly cloudy in Ottawa. Afternoon highs also near 4. We're back to seasonal tonight. Cooler air moves in. Lows near -8, feeling like -12. The daytime high today, 4 degrees.
And right now in Ottawa and in Smiths Falls, it's 5 degrees. The NHL has postponed the Bruins-Canadiens game. That was scheduled tomorrow night in Montreal. It's due to a COVID outbreak on the Boston Bruins. At least 7 players affected. The Bruins, though, are still scheduled to play against the Senators Sunday afternoon at 5. We haven't received a word from the team or the league if that game is still a go. If it is played, it will be at Canadian Tire Centre in front of 50% fan capacity. The province's cap on fans in stands for places that seat over 1,000 goes into effect tomorrow. Now, season ticket holders are not affected. There's enough room for them. But some ticket holders may be contacted by the team if they have sold more than 50% of the seats, once again for Sunday afternoon at 5. I'm Andrew Boyle for News Anytime. Follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
The world is changing.
So keep up with Rob.
The Rob Snow Show returns on Rogers TV and City News, 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
One of the big stories in the news this year was reconciliation and the constant struggle to reconcile. There was the first ever National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, all the more prominent because of the discovery of unmarked graves, thousands of unmarked graves at the site of former residential schools. We're joined today by Claudette Commanda, Algonquin Elder, Special Advisor to the Dean at the University of Ottawa on reconciliation, and it's so nice to talk to you again. Welcome back.
Well, thank you, Rob. I'm very honored to be back.
What sort of progress do you think was made this year on reconciliation? Have we made progress?
Well, that's the million-dollar question. I can answer that from my own truths, my lived realities, and who I am as Claudette Commanda, and my feelings. And I need to be honest. I cannot sugarcoat the word genocide. I cannot deny the word genocide. I cannot deny the traumas, the hardships, and the realities of what has been experienced by First Nations people. So with respect to reconciliation, and especially after the discovery of those unmarked graves of children in those notorious places called residential schools, there can't be no reconciliation when you're finding First Nations children in unmarked graves. Before we come to the point of reconciliation, before we even can speak about reconciliation, there has to be that acknowledgement of truth, that acknowledgement of reality, and start with that premise, that foundation. It may take years before reconciliation can ever become a success or a reality or a fulfilled goal. Yes, their healing has to take place, but what Canadians really need to understand that the healing has to begin for our families, for our nations, for our communities. Our people from coast to coast to coast are grieving the loss of their children, grieving this fact that their children lied in those unmarked graves for how many years, and those families, many of them, the parents and grandparents have gone on, and they've left us without knowing where their children were. So for me, as a Anishinaabe woman, as a mother and as a grandmother, I have to say that there has not really been those great strives of reconciliation. But I do believe in hope. And what I say is that Canadians have to start with questioning. And for me, I say that reconciliation will take place only when accountability is held by those churches for what they have done to First Nations children. And the government has to advocate, and the government also has to demand and has to hold the churches accountable, and the government must be held accountable too as well.
Many Canadians were shocked to learn about those unmarked graves. What was your reaction? You weren't shocked, were you? You weren't shocked to hear that.
No, not at all.
You knew if people had been following, say, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, it's in the report that there were unmarked graves, right? So,
absolutely, and our survivors, residential school survivors, even before the Truth and Reconciliation Commission was established, our survivors came home with that trauma. They were children. They came home as adults, and throughout their adult life, they carried those horrific truths of what they saw in those residential schools, their own lived experience of abuse. And for years, they were talking about how they witnessed children being abused and children being killed or children disappearing, but no one believed them. And then they were silenced. And we even have some survivors that are still carrying it to this day when they tried to tell their story when the Truth and Reconciliation Commission was going across the country, and their voices were silent. But we believed that your truth would be told someday, and sure enough, May of 2021, the truth was told, and the truth continues. So no, we as First Nations people and as survivors were not shocked. Canadians were shocked, and you know what? They need to be shocked. And because that shock then puts them into that mode of opening their eyes, opening their minds, and opening their voice and demanding from their government, what did you do and what are you going to do now? You know how Canada is always held in this highest esteem in the international world, or even here in this country, that Canada is a country of peace and love and tolerance. Everybody, please come to Canada, or you're going to have the best of home. Come and live your dreams. Live your dreams. Meanwhile, while we, the First Nations people, are still living in that nightmare of colonialism, assimilation, and genocide.
What are your wishes for the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation? I don't want to get into the politics of the Prime Minister because it's not about him, but
no.
But I was impressed with how many Canadians took that up, the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, out there and marching and wearing orange shirts and attending events. What did you think of that
Rob,
this year?
There were two events that occurred from May to October that really, my spirit soared, my heart rejoiced, and I knew that there was hope. That was July the 1st, when I saw thousands upon thousands upon thousands of Canadians that came to walk with us. You know, every child matters. Instead of celebrating Canada Day, they came to celebrate the fact that First Nations people are here, and they celebrated with us, celebrating in the sense of that resilience and strength and survival, but at the same time coming together in that peace and friendship and doing actions to raise this consciousness of Canadians that the truth must be told. And Parliament Hill was on both days, July 1st and September 30th, just filled with orange, and that was so beautiful to see. It was so heartfelt, it was so emotional, it was so moving, and I looked through from one end of Parliament Hill Field to the other, and just to see how many Canadians came out to support us, and I can tell you how I felt: love.
Good.
That they respect us and they loved us, and it's time, and that's what you call healing. That's what you call that reconciliation. People coming together, walking together, and I love.
Okay.
That's what I felt, and so there is hope, and there's a promise for a better tomorrow for our children. Absolutely.
So as we end the year, in the mini budget, the fall economic statement, it was announced that $40 billion will be set aside over 7 years for compensation, first of all, and reforms for Indigenous child welfare. What are your hopes with the Indigenous child welfare system? This is real money. That's a lot of money, $40 billion. So that could do some good, So.
Well, absolutely. Well, my hopes for with respect to this announcement of $40 billion in reforming child welfare is that it cannot go into the administration of government. It cannot create more bureaucracy. Work with First Nations, work with Indigenous organizations, Indigenous communities. This is so important, and a lot of work needs to be done with child welfare reform. No longer should our children be taken from us. No longer should our communities have to fall under whether it's federal or provincial guidelines. Yes, we need to work together for sure, but it has to be, we'll call it co-development, whereby First Nations people have to be at that table, and they have to be the driving force.
Okay.
And you cannot just take the money and just throw it around either. You have to do it the right way and the good way, and do it within that foundation of through our cultural relevancy. It has to be part of that as well, and I know this $40 billion relates to, I would believe it's inclusive of First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. It cannot be a pan-Aboriginal approach, absolutely not. It cannot be a government approach, absolutely not. It cannot be a provincial approach, absolutely not. It cannot be a mainstream approach. It cannot be. It has to. You think of Cindy Blackstock, who's been the champion for years.
Yes.
The champion. Cindy Blackstock has to be that person that has to guide this, direct this. And okay. Cindy is all about the communities and the children, and this is so important, because let's remember why this reform is needed. It's about the children. It's about families, healing families to ensure that families are healed. Rather than taking a child away from its family and moving that child away from its family into a non-Indigenous home, put those resources in to heal the families and provide the families with the resources that they need to provide adequately for their children. Because we see far too often children are taken away from their homes because there's not the materialism or the resources that families have to take care of their children. Provide the resources to feed the children. But yes, absolutely, there has to be reuniting of families, but the healing of families, because our families have been traumatized due to residential schools, day schools, child welfare system, and on and on and on the list goes. But I'm hopeful that this will be done in the right way if you have the right people at the table. For me, I'm a firm believer that for anything to succeed, no matter what the issue is, you have to have the right people at the table.
William Commanda was your grandfather, right?
Yes, he was.
So he's going to have he has a bridge named after him now.
Yes, he does.
What would he think of that?
The bridge?
The bridge, having a bridge named after him, yeah. What would he think of that?
Well, when I first heard that they were naming a bridge after my grandfather, the first thought that came to my mind was I could, visually see my grandfather sitting at his comfortable chair, twiddling his thumbs with his eyes closed, but listening very attentively, and then he would say, "Holy Joe, they're going to have a bridge named after me? They're going to walk on me? Holy Joe."
Claudette Commanda, I've loved our conversations all year.
Thank you.
When I speak with you, I know I've said this before, I say there's hope for us yet.
Yes.
And gosh, all the best of the season. I hope you get some downtime because I'm sure it'll be a busy 2022. Thank you again, and I hope to speak to you in the new year.
Well, thank you, Rob. I truly appreciate you calling upon me and having some good conversations, and I wish you and your family the very best of Christmas. Be well, be safe, and yes, hope is free, and that is a great gift that is given to every human being from the Creator, and let's keep that hope alive.
Here at the Thirsty Maiden, we offer a variety of products. So everything from breakfast items, so it's breakfast sandwiches and scones, which have become a staple item here at the cafe. We have an assortment of pastries and cakes and desserts. So we're really big on our dessert bar, which a lot of people come here for. And of course, our delicious coffee beverages. So we do offer not your typical lattes, things like a chocolate banana coconut latte, cinnamon coconut, which is my favorite, and our take on even a pumpkin spice, which we add nutmeg and a dash of cayenne in just to give it a bit of a kick. When you start a business, you don't factor in all the things that could go wrong. You think anything that goes wrong, any failure, it's got to be something on your shoulders. You didn't market right, you're carrying the wrong products, you didn't price your items correctly, all the things, right? But when this pandemic began, things going through my brain were I didn't factor in a pandemic. And we were just starting to grow. We were about to blow up, and I think I spent 2 days crying. And then I shut my business down for, I think, a period of 2 or 3 days. And just being at home during that time, I realized this is not me. Anybody that knows me knows I'm a hard worker. I don't give up, and I'm a go-getter. And I started to think, well, I should probably just start clearing out my freezers and posting and seeing who wants to buy what. And that was sort of how I built my momentum back up. I realized that there's still a large number of people that wanted to support us and were looking for the items that I had to provide. So we started there. Then I reopened literally not even 3 or 4 days after I'd closed my doors, and then started doing curbside pickups and deliveries. Started doing the deliveries myself, free deliveries to the local community, going as far as Bell's Corners and Carp as well. And that's why we're still here. This community has really kept us going a year into the pandemic. We've had a changeover of staff a couple times now, and situations change, and when you can't offer hours and hours for your employees, you don't blame them when they have to go elsewhere. So I think that's also been one of the challenges is recruiting, training, and then they leave, and then bringing in more people and recruiting. And anybody in this industry will tell you that that's something we deal with on a regular basis, whether or not COVID's in the mix or not. But more so now, because every time there's a lockdown, there's a risk of, will we make it through? And then you lay off more staff. And again, their situations and their circumstances change.
Fair.
Fun.
The Rob Snow Show returns
on Rogers TV and City News 101.1 FM
and 1310 AM.
In sports, Steve Warren is back. Sensation Podcast, Steve.
Hello, Rob.
Hey,
how are you?
I'm good, Steve. How are you? It's great to hear from you, Steve. How is Omicron COVID-19 impacting the world of sports today, Steve?
Well, it's all over the map. It's depressing to see the COVID cases reported like the nightly scoreboard, but Yeah, I mean, the NHL's had a real big outbreak. Your colleagues at Sportsnet, they have a page where they track it all. And right now you have 82 NHL players and coaches that are in protocol. You've got 11 games over the past month that have been postponed. That includes the Habs games, the last one last night, and then the one tomorrow against Boston. Not postponed, I shouldn't say postponed. Strike that. But they did not allow fans into those games and will not again tomorrow. And the Habs right now, to my knowledge, don't actually have any COVID cases. But the province does, and that's the thing about it right now. The leagues can come up with whatever they want for a game plan or a strategy. It's really ultimately provincial governments that'll have the final call on things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not just the hockey world, though. It's all over the place, right, Steve? Yeah, all the leagues are struggling with it, right? Yeah.
The NFL had 100 players test positive just this week.
100 players. Wow. Holy smokes. Okay. All right. We'll see I guess we'll see what happens with it. But look, things all of a sudden are looking pretty good for the Ottawa Senators. They lost last night, but a close game against a very good team, 2-1. And Thomas Chabot, who's been playing excellent, as he always does, but has been snake-bitten when it comes to scoring goals. He had a beauty last night, Steve.
He is a fantastic defenseman who's having a fantastic year, maybe his best year. And people who will look at his stat sheet might look at it and go, yeah, Chabot's not really, he doesn't have that many goals. Well, he finally got on the score sheet with a terrific play. And not just the way he's able to finish the thing, that's his MO. Step up in the neutral zone, take away a pass, and then just sprinting up the ice and showing off his skill. It's just been, in terms of goal scoring, that's the only thing you can look at as far as Thomas Chabot's Achilles this season. He's done everything else in a fantastic manner, and that was a great play for sure.
Yeah, and they're top players and great prospects. They're having great years. I mean, I'm looking here, Drake Batherson, 28 points in 22 games. Josh Norris, 22 points in 27 games, but 14 goals in 27 games. Very impressive. And, Brady's earning the big bucks, so he's got to produce. Brady Tkachuk, almost a point a game, 12 goals, 10 assists, 22 points in 24 games. What do you think of those big three, Steve?
Yeah, the big three. You could say the big five as well with Chabot, and Tim Stützle has been fantastic since moving over to center. He's just been, his stats haven't really told his story either.
Okay.
But yeah, the big three have been fantastic. Tkachuk is the complete package, and you look statistically at both Norris and Batherson. Norris is a guy right now that's, I think, on pace for about 44 goals this season. And then you look at Batherson heading into that game last night. He may not be, right there among the leaders as far as points because of his COVID setback, and he had to miss some games.
Yeah.
But from a points per game perspective, he's fifth in the NHL overall right now. So I think these guys are just growing in leaps and bounds as NHL players moving into stardom.
Nevertheless, dare to dream, Steve. 27 games in, 9-17-1 for 19 points. Okay, they have 19 points. Now you crunch some numbers about what it would take for the Ottawa Senators to kind of get back into playoff contention, and it's kind of a sober dose of reality, isn't it, Steve?
The record, right? I think. Yeah, the record the rest of the way would be Hamburglar-esque. I don't know that that's going to come around twice in about a 6-year period. But you never say never, and that's the fun of being a fan. You just don't know exactly what the future will hold. Maybe this team does catch fire. Who knows? But it's unlikely. I think the record will need to be something along the lines of 35 and 15, and then some overtime losses in there as well.
Right.
That's a bit aggressive, but it's the fun of being a fan. You just never know.
It's Week 15 in the National Football League. Okay. Let's go Broncos. Let's go Broncos. The Broncos, I won't spend too much time on it because I know it's Ottawa. There's not a lot of Broncos fans out there. This is going to be a good game. It's worth watching. Yeah, in the AFC, you have a bunch of teams that are stuck at 7-6, and they're all in the mix, fighting desperately for that final playoff spot. One of them is the Denver Broncos. The other is the Cincinnati Bengals. If the Broncos win this, they're in great shape to make the playoffs. If they lose, they're not going to make the playoffs. That's my prediction. For my team, it's a must-win weekend, Steve. They have to win this weekend. Should be a good game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a great matchup. 2 7-6 teams. Seems like everybody's in the playoff mix right now. I think that I don't think there's a single team right now, even though some teams are it's 13 and 14 games into their seasons. I don't think there's a single team that's officially clinched a playoff spot. And you look at some of the teams kind of down as the lower seeds. There's some pretty mediocre teams down there. Not to say your team is mediocre, Rob, but I'm saying
inconsistent, Steve.
Mediocre.
I prefer inconsistent. Okay, I prefer.
Still a great game, though.
You know what? Your team is going to have a good one this weekend too. Packers and Ravens. That'll be a good one, Steve.
Oh, I'm really looking forward to that. The Packers have been rolling. Obviously, they've got issues from an injury standpoint with Aaron Jones not participating at practice yesterday, so that's certainly something to keep an eye on. But they do have A.J. Dillon as a good replacement. And on the other side of the ball, Lamar Jackson doesn't sound like he's going to play.
No.
He might be out with an ankle injury, but Tyler Huntley does an awfully good Lamar Jackson impression.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does, yeah.
If you saw any of that game last week, they may have been a better-looking offense with Huntley under center than Lamar Jackson was.
Yeah. Look, enjoy the sports weekend. What we have of it, Steve.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you. Steve Warren, Sens Nation Podcast, 1128 Queen's Park Week in Review. Oh, my goodness, there's so much to talk about with our MPPs. We jump right into it next here on City News.
One for local news in Ottawa and the Valley. This is City News, now on 101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
This is Friday, the 17th of December. Good morning. I'm Jason White. Right now in Ottawa, mostly cloudy, 5 degrees. It's 5 in Smiths Falls as well. Here's what's making news this hour. Long lineups and empty pockets for a lot of people who went to 7 Ottawa LCBOs this morning looking for their free rapid COVID tests. The province told everybody they'd be available today, but the delivery didn't make it in time for opening this morning. The LCBO says it expects the test will arrive at some point today. We are now in the last few minutes hearing reports that some Ottawa stores are now starting to get them. For the second time in 2 days, Ottawa's Medical Officer of Health will address the media about COVID-19. Dr. Vera Etches, scheduled to give an update at 2 this afternoon. A growing number of health units are calling for the province to issue more restrictions to tamp down the exponential growth of the Omicron variant. The province has appointed the person who will lead the LRT inquiry, the Honourable Justice William Horrigan. He specialized in complex commercial litigation while he practiced law, and he previously served as a judge of the Ontario Superior Court of Justice, later elevated to the Ontario Court of Appeal for Ontario in 2013. And Ottawa police asking for your help to find a missing 20-year-old man, Luca Matko, last seen in the area of Prince of Wales and Third Line Road South yesterday afternoon around 1:30. He has medical conditions that require prescription medication. Police are concerned for his health and well-being. A full description and photo on our website. City News Time 11:32. I'm Jason White. For News Anytime, follow up online at ottawa.citynews.ca.
He's a pillar of community opinion.
The Rob Snow Show returns
on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM
and 1310 AM.
All right, 11:33. Let's get right into it. It's time for Queen's Park Weekend Review. We have John Fraser. He's our Liberal MPP from Ottawa South. John, good morning, John.
Good morning, Rob.
You in Ottawa today, John? Or?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, good. Dave Smith from Peterborough. Dave Smith, good morning. Peterborough, Kawartha.
Good morning.
Yep, good to hear from you. And Fran Jelena. Dave Smith, Progressive Conservative, by the way. And Fran Jelena, Nickel Belt. Morning, Franz.
Good morning.
Hey, long time no talk. I'm so glad that you're on the show today. Welcome back.
My
Welcome
pleasure.
back.
Yeah.
Look, we have to start with rapid tests. Rapid tests at the LCBO, lining up at the liquor store for a rapid test. This is how it went in Ottawa today, according to eyewitness accounts. People calling from the parking lots of the liquor stores of Ottawa into the Rob Snow Show.
I tried to rush over on my break to try and get one of those tests. There's a mega lineup outside, and the staff is standing out front with the sign to say, "Do not enter for tests."
The gentleman who works there had to come out and tell people quit blocking the doors because people actually wanted to buy
couldn't
liquor.
even pull into the parking lot area. There were just too many cars.
This is Grumpy Bob reporting from the Barhaven liquor store. Milling around. There's people getting coffee. It's like they're going to pull up. There's people there with lawn chairs. It's not the showing of the first Star Wars movie. I mean, give me a break here, people. I think that there's a total breakdown in communication.
This is right now. I just skipped out from work to try and pick up the test. I'm heading back to work, and there goes my break.
There goes my break. So, look, Dave.
Yes, Rob.
Something is not working here. Dave, people were told you go get a rapid test at the LCBO. You'd no purchase necessary. Although if it was me, I'd be, I'm here. I may as well pick up something. But they get there and then there's no tests, Dave. There's no tests.
Rob, I don't want to make light of it, but it sounds a lot like when the Tickle Me Elmo came out. Stores were announcing that they would have the Elmos on a certain day, and people were there waiting right when the store opened. The reality is we announced this on Wednesday that it would be available today, and you're seeing that the rapid tests are coming to the LCBOs today. Just on your news report just a moment ago, you said that there are reports that at least two of the LCBOs have them. The shipment is there. It's on its way, and they're going from store to store to drop them off.
Yeah,
so
you said today.
They will be available today in Ottawa.
So,
all right. Who wants in here?
So I just
John Fraser, go ahead.
I just got to say, Dave, I get the Tickle Me Elmo reference, but I don't think even Elmo is laughing or anybody in Ottawa right now, because there are no pop-up sites here till the 21st of December. Most of the kids in schools still don't have their rapid test. They haven't come home with them. They should have had them in September or October, or at least had them accelerated in December. And I just drove by the liquor store here on Bank Street by Walkley, and there's a guy out there holding a big sign saying, "We got no tests."
Yeah.
So no tests yet. They are coming today. That's what we committed to, and they will be there today.
You need to communicate clearly to people. If you say they're coming today, don't go to the stores till after lunch, or don't actually go till Saturday, because they're actually only getting into the stores sometime in the middle of the day. So it's really unfair to people. And I'm sorry if I sound a bit frustrated, but there are a lot of people calling my office who are extremely frustrated with the way that this whole thing has rolled out. We could have, look, nothing's perfect, but we should have been more ready than we are.
Couldn't agree more. I mean,
All right.
I live in the Sudbury district.
Yeah, any news to report from there, how it went today up there, France? With
Oh my God, we are not on the map. We were the highest case rate of COVID. Nothing to be proud of, but that's the reality. The community transmission in my community is the worst. Actually, this morning, Kingston just surpassed us a little bit, and we had zero site for the rapid test, although we had, when they made the announcement on Wednesday, they certainly did not say that northeastern Ontario, that had the highest rate of COVID, was not going to get any tests. I had a 2-hour argument yesterday with the Solicitor General, who ended up saying that we would get one LCBO for 180,000 people. Will be getting a shipment, yet to be determined as to when that will be. This is not a plan. This is a serious tool that will help us fight COVID. When you bring a new tool into your toolbox, you have to be clear as to how it is to be used, how it will be distributed. If we have a limited amount, explain to people, here are the metrics that we will use to decide where we send them. None of that was done. None of that was done. And now we will be getting one LCBO in all of the Northeast, in Sudbury, who will get tests. What do you figure that will look like? The lineup will be all the way to Toronto.
It's really interesting, Rob, to hear the opposition come at us like this, because back in March, when I was heading up the rapid test deployment program for all of Ontario, we had opposition from the opposition on this. It wasn't the right idea. We shouldn't be doing it. We shouldn't be putting out rapid tests. We need to be focusing on PCR tests. Now we're putting out 1,100,000 rapid tests every single week. We're deploying it across all of the different industries, following what the medical officers of health have been saying all along, making adjustments as necessary, and now they're saying to us suddenly, well, you're not doing what we thought you should do. But they argued against what we were doing when I started this program back in March. March, April, May, June, all I heard from them was, no, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And now, when we're doing it and we're putting out almost 4.5 million rapid tests every single month, they're saying it's not enough. And yet they objected to it all along.
So, John,
Dave.
John, are you a Johnny Fraser come lately? Is that what you are,
no,
John?
We have been calling for them for months. And what Dave just said was, to put it in an old phrase, a bunch of malarkey. And that's a nice way of putting it. We've been calling for these things for months. Look, even your own premier said more than a year ago, these things are game changers. And what's happened? Well, he just put them on the sideline. They sat on the bench with him.
Well, hold on.
4.5 million a month is not on the sidelines. I'm sorry, John. That is a 100% false narrative. 4.5 million rapid tests. We've deployed 45 million of them in Ontario. Yeah, almost 70% of all rapid tests deployed in Canada have been done here in Ontario, thanks to the hard work of a lot of people. And it is a very effective tool. You're absolutely correct. That's why.
All right, this is hold on. Can I interrupt? Just let me interrupt. Yeah. Just let me jump in. The Premier was asked specifically about rapid tests during one of his news events this week. This is the Premier, Doug Ford.
As for the testing kits, we sent 11 million tests home for students, not only just for them, but their family of 5-packs. We're going to continue handing out these rapid tests across the country. And I just want to address these.
All right. 11 million tests, John. 11 million tests.
Okay, so I'm in a household of a 5 and a 6-year-old. Those tests haven't come back here yet. So they're not actually in the hands of people who need them. I know that Dave did some work with Border Trade, and that's good work. But the problem is it didn't get to the people who need them. We need them in schools because schools actually are a driver in our economy. They allow families to go to work.
Yeah, but
and if you have to
every student is going home with them, John. Every student's going home with them.
Yeah, I'm saying they needed them before today.
Every school board has had them since September.
All right, Fred.
The government.
Okay, all right.
And that's
You're monopolizing the time, John. Let's hear from France.
I would add to this that we all know that Christmas season is coming and that a lot of family wants to get together. There are a lot of grandmas like me out there that have been waiting for a very long time to hug their grandkids, their daughters and sons and everybody else. But we want to do this safely. A lot of us do not have kids in school, but we still want to be careful. And giving us access to the rapid test before we go visit our loved one is this sense of security that I'm not going to infect grandma, and I'm not going to, and if I do test positive, I will stay home and protect my family and my loved ones and the people that I want to spend the holidays with. This is where we are at. 6 months ago, the vaccination was just in the midst of it in last March. Things have changed. 87% of us are vaccinated. We want to be able to do a little bit of socializing at Christmas time, but we want to do that safely. In order for that to happen, we have this new tool in our toolbox called a rapid antigen test, and we need to gain access to this. It's fine that the kids at some point before school rises in 4 days will have their kids, but not all of us have kids that are in primary and secondary school. But all of us wants to get together with loved ones during Christmas. They have to become available, not only to the working. The rapid test has been used lots in the mines around Sudbury for workers, and they work. But right now we're at a point with the vaccination rate, with the Omicron coming, that it has to be available to people before Christmas so that we can do that safely and avoid super spreader events.
All right. I want one more thing before we stop here on the rapid tests. Look, people who've been listening to the Rob Snow Show for a long time know I have no love lost for teachers' unions in this province. It's nothing against rank and file teachers. The unions, I can take or leave. But I would like to know how you come up with a rapid testing plan for the education system and totally forget about the staff that work in the public education system. Like, how does that happen? You have 125,000 teachers on the payroll in Ontario. None of them get a rapid test, let alone all the support staff, the educational assistants, the librarians, the custodial staff, all of them. The government keeps saying, we want to keep the schools open, first to open, last to close. But it comes up with a rapid testing plan, so schools can be the first to open and the last to close, but you don't give out rapid tests to the staff.
Actually,
Dave, what's going on, Dave? What's going on with that?
Jump in on that because the rapid tests have been deployed to the schools since last spring. We have been consistently sending rapid tests to the schools, and I'll point out that the opposition members wanted us to fire all of those teachers that they didn't think should be in the classroom. We have been doing rapid testing at schools with staff, with teachers, with board office staff all along for more than 7 months. And yes, some of those school boards do have rapid tests available, and they will be distributing them to the teachers. The 5-pack kit that are going out to the students is a different rapid test company than what we have been giving to the schools to use. They come in 25 packs. We had to wait until the federal government actually gave us a second rapid test to make it available. We went out and purchased 11 million of those just for the students. The staff still have them available to them as they have since last spring, and school boards have been distributing them. Toronto District School Board in particular has made the commitment that all of the extra rapid tests that they have not been used will be distributed to the teachers, to the staff over the Christmas break, and it's incumbent on all the...
Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Anybody want to jump in there?
No, you're not wrong. Those tests were used for teachers who, in some boards, that didn't have mandatory vaccinations, frontline staff, to be tested, because some boards choose to do that. That was the wrong thing. They weren't available to all teachers. They should have been in the fall of this year. And I just Dave keeps deflecting and saying we wanted to fire. Like, that's just not the case. The reality
it's absolutely the case, John. You brought it up in.
Sorry. One at a time.
In the hands of school-age children's families or teachers right at this very moment, and that's just the case.
All right, France.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you are right, Rob. The teachers should also have been given rapid tests to take home so that before they come back to class, they can make sure that they did not get COVID. The few rapid tests that were available to the board in Northern Ontario, because remember, Ontario is not just Toronto, Ottawa. There's a northern part that exists. The few rapid tests that makes it up there, there's no way there's enough for the numbers of teachers that would need them. This is not a plan to, have a few rapid tests available to a few board that will do the best they can with them is really different from making sure that because before you come back to school in January, you do a rapid test at home to make sure that you do not get infected, whether you are vaccinated or not. Because remember this Omicron thing that is now spreading into our province, whether you are vaccinated or not, you could still spread the virus. So to make them available to all, this is not available in Ontario. Do the school board have a few? Yes, and they have been using it for unvaccinated people in some of the board, some of the time. This is not the plan we need. This is December of 2021. This is a new variant coming into our province. And when Steiny Brown stands out there and tells us that this could be the worst wave that we have yet to see, let's use every tool that we have to protect as many people as we can.
Okay, we'll be right back. Speaking of Steiny Brown, I want your reaction to some of his comments from yesterday, and what should the government be following Steiny Brown's advice and have a circuit breaker? When we come back, Rob Snow Show, City News.
So the birth of absinthe was 2002, I think, 2003, and I was working at Urban Bistro, happily, where Allium is now. And then the space where Holland Cafe was came up. It's on the corner of Spencer and Holland. And I spoke to the landlord, and there's a lot of interest from a lot of other people, but he and I just, got along super well, and he put a lot of faith in me. So Carmen Turner is his name. He gave me the lease to the place and really pretty much gave me all the equipment in the place. So I was really lucky. I've been really lucky with landlords that way, actually, both my current landlord and Carmen Turner. Because if there hadn't been Carmen Turner, there wouldn't have been Absinthe. So we were there for a few years and just sort of outgrew the place. And then now we're here. It's obviously been tough, and it's been tough for everyone. I mean, that's the, been the big democratic sweep of, like, in restaurants and the hospitality and the arts that we were talking about earlier. It's like everybody's been impacted pretty much the same. From everybody that I talked to, we're down 80%. We're climbing out now. I think one of the saddest things is like everybody, we went down to 2 employees from 25, and we're now at 4, and we're bringing 2 new people on this week, so we'll be at 6. So it's little steps. So it's been tough. It's I've got the most expensive clubhouse ever here, because some days you come and you don't do any business, but you're here. But I'm grateful for what I do have. I think everybody's optimistic now, not necessarily just about the vaccine, but about like the vaccine, spring, being able to be outside. I think you're going to see a lot of like pop-up things happen in parking lots and on sidewalks and all. And like that, rather than being actually inside somebody's commerce. I think we'd like to take it outside. I know my staff would. My staff like the outdoors now, all of a sudden, all 4 of us. 6 soon. But we'll be doing stuff, some business in the patio in the parking lot, and we have a patio out front. And I hope other restaurants and stores will do the same. I hope that they take advantage of like the sidewalk and doing sort of, guerrilla marketing and stuff like that, and really shaking it up a bit. You can find us at Absinthe Cafe at 1208 Wellington Street West in Hintonburg, and you can find us online at absinthecafe.ca.
He's the opinionated Ottawa icon.
The Rob Snow Show returns
on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
This will likely be the hardest wave of the pandemic. Data is very clear that this is incredibly transmissible. If we were seeing in Toronto or the Greater Toronto Area the type of explosion of cases that they've seen, say in Kingston, you might have 10 to 20,000 cases in the GTA. Because of the speed with which it spreads, the cases that we see today, the cases that we see tomorrow, the cases we see on Sunday, will be the hospitalizations in 2 or 3 weeks from now. And so every day that you wait, you've got bigger spread and you've got a greater challenge in front of you.
Okay, so kind of a scary scenario. Laid out yesterday by Dr. Steiny Brown, head of the science advisory table. He wants some kind of circuit breaker, cut contacts by 50%. What's the government going to do? The government going to follow that advice, Dave Smith?
We are following a lot of the advice that he's put forward, and I think he reiterated that the best defense that we have on this is the rollout of the booster shots, and that's why we've increased capacity. December 10th, we had about 78,000 vaccinations, but yesterday it was a little over 156,000, doubled in less than 7 days, and we're building to a capacity of about 300,000 vaccinations per day by early next week. When you take a look at the large-scale gatherings, we're reducing that to 50% capacity to make sure that we've got things in place to do it. And obviously, the pop-up tests that are coming in the next couple of days, the 11 million tests that are being sent home with the students over the course of the holiday, these are all things that we're doing. We've added our capacity on ICUs because we want to make sure that we don't find ourselves in a position where we are over what our capacity is. So about 600 ICU beds are currently available, and we have another 500 or so on surge. Yeah, well,
you say you have beds, but do you have staff to actually, staff the beds?
We do.
That's the thing. Okay.
We do, and that you're bang on with it, and that's one of the keys to it. You cannot just have a bed; you have to have somebody there to staff it to make sure that we've got nurses who can look after.
We only have a few minutes left, Dave. I'm not cutting you off, but I think you've outlined the government side pretty good. John, go ahead, John, very quickly here. We only have about a minute.
Support the nurses, repeal Bill 124. But more importantly, here's what Steiny Brown said. We can't vaccinate our way out of this wave. And we need a circuit breaker to actually change the trajectory, to blunt this wave, not to flatten it, to blunt it. So, I think, look, we're all tired. We've all had enough. We know how to do this, though. We're going to have to do our part. And I think the government today is going to have to come out with some added restrictions. We shouldn't be closing schools. We should be doing everything we can to keep schools open, to keep our economy going. But there's going to be some additional measures that are needed.
France?
Well, Sudbury has one hospital, 441-bed hospital, and we have 580 people admitted into our hospital. Remember, the rate of transmission of COVID in Sudbury is really, really high.
Yeah.
Do we have enough staff? No, they are all burnt out.
You don't have enough staff. You don't have enough beds. Right?
We don't have enough beds or enough staff.
No
either.
beds, no staff. Yeah, okay.
The nurses that are there are burnt out and they feel completely disrespected. Agree with John. Repeal Bill 124. You're not going to vaccinate your way out. Tough decisions will need to be made, and the sooner you do this, the easier it is on all of them. To announce on Wednesday that big gatherings over 1,000 would be at 50%, there's a lot of big arenas right now that are having a tough time. Let's say it now if you want things to be in place by Christmas, not wait till Wednesday, 2 days before Christmas. circuit breaker needs to happen now to protect people so that what's happening in Sudbury Hospital doesn't repeat itself in every single one of our hospitals.
Okay. We have to wrap it up there for this week. Thank you so much. Look, it's a passionate debate every time we're all together like this, debating these very important issues. I don't want to lose sight of all the work that you're doing in your own communities with your own constituents and providing information to them. And I thank you for taking the time for us this week here on the Rob Snow Show. It's greatly appreciated.
You're
Thanks,
very
everyone.
welcome.
Yeah,
Thanks
bye-bye.
a lot, Rob.
Yeah. John Fraser, Dave Smith, and Franz Yelena, your MPPs, Queen's Park Week in Review. That's it for me this week. Back Monday right after the 9 o'clock news. Be safe, everyone, over the weekend. And Sam LaPrade Show standing by right after the noon news on City News.
The Rob Snow Show.
Weekdays 9 to noon on Rogers TV and City News.
101.1 FM and 1310 AM.
Number one for local news in Ottawa and the Valley.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV.